conversation was flowing so good, and you were getting such into detail, just as in the bartending, and just
Yeah.
cut off.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That is how it goes, man.
Uh, you know what? You know what, Peter? The funny thing is that if I go to your neighborhood, the second I roll through, the cops gonna pull me over anyway. They're gonna be like, yeah, you don't belong here in this area. Yeah, but
All
but
righty.
just
So we're picking back up on distillation, right?
yes.
Cool. All righty. So distillation, right? You have this ability to ferment, make alcohol. It gets you drunk, makes you happy, all those
Yeah.
wonderful things, and it stays for a little while, right? But then eventually, just like any beer or wine, it turns to vinegar, tastes like shit. You got to throw it away. So
Mm,
you had an ability now to take all of that wine and all of that beer that you had put in barrels, and some of it worked out, some of it went sour, whatever. But you had the ability to turn it into cognac, turn it into Armagnac, turn it into vodka, whatever, right?
mm-hmm.
And that's for forever. Like, yeah, in really hot, humid climates, you'll get a little bit of angel share and some of it'll go off, but for the most part, that's it, man. You got it for forever.
Mm,
And that's like that was really the key. And also being that it was much higher proof, you could
yeah.
use it to treat wounds, you could use it to, heal cuts, medicine, uh, keep infection away, all of that fun stuff. So it originally starts as both a consumable, potable item, and then also as a medicinal kind of helpful thing. And as fragrances are added, as barrels and different expressions are created, people use it for all different stuff around the world, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
difference with cocktails, and cocktails being an American thing, is that most alcohol was always consumed neat, and most of it was consumed at room temperature, whatever room temperature that might be, right? And it was like, you look at terms like uscabe, kill devil, all of these like alcoholic terms that have existed for forever in different civilizations. And most of it means water of life. Some of it, has something to do with the burning of the soul or the burning of life. Because when you actually ingest it, some of it burns a little bit, especially without modern distilling. Like a lot of them probably had some heavy, heavy compounds because they didn't know how to select heads and hearts and
Yeah.
tails and really get a fine cut, good spirit. So a lot of it was taken and it burned or warmed you up on a cold night or cold day or whatever. And that's kind of where it begins. And as America comes into the scene, 1776, you have like this land where they're growing rye. They slowly figure out how to grow corn as they head further south. And rye, along with some of the rums from the outside islands, ends up
Mm-hmm.
being like the primary spirit of choice for for North America at least. And that's why Canadian whiskey is primarily rye, at least
Mm-hmm.
pure Canadian whiskey, not like
Yeah.
the industrial made stuff. But Canadian whiskey, primarily rye, a lot of the original whiskey of America, rye. And then you get into the South, and that's when bourbon kind of comes onto the scene with
Yeah.
corn,
Yeah.
right? And moonshining and all that other fun stuff. Well, with all the rivers and the trains and the ability to transport ice through the whole entire colonies and basically like all of America, you have the ability to chill alcohol and you have the ability to use it as a preservative, right? Because you could pack
Mm-hmm.
fish,
Yeah.
ice, all of that other fun stuff. So cocktails being a primarily American thing because of the fact that you're utilizing ice to dilute and also to help balance out drinks.
Mm. So
And that's where those ingredients like egg whites come into play
yeah.
because of the fact that, most people were drinking such heavy amounts of alcohol that they would be hungover as hell, wake up the next day, and the first thing that they would do is go back to the bar to see the bartender. And the
Mm.
bartender would make them a drink that had things like orange juice, tomato juice, and a whole egg in it. so that they would get a little bit of protein to help give them some nutrition, because they were drinking so much of it
Yeah.
that they didn't have any time for food.
Wow. So my question to you, so I know you must have a massive collection, but what are some of your everydays? As
I don't drink every day.
Okay.
I don't drink every day. As a matter of fact, I probably drink less than most people would believe. I partied a lot. That's why I have all the gray hair at 38. You know, it's not an easy life, but a fun one. But yeah, it's one of those too where, like, you know, I've been very spoiled and very fortunate in my years behind the bar and around the bar and working for the liquor distributor now, to where, like, I've tried a lot of great things. You know, the $20,000 bottle of Louis the 13th Black Pearl, tried it. The $50,000 bottles of Macallan, I've tried them. You know, some of the best wines in the world. Like, I mean, thanks, Pete. Appreciate you, man. It's like, it's one of those to where I've been very fortunate to try out a lot of things. And I would say that for everyday stuff, you know, I know that, I think it was Clay or somebody asked earlier about like top bourbons and different things like that. You know, some of the things that you guys see on the channel, those are usually steady rotation, if there was such a thing for me. So, like, I like Buffalo Trace. I love their distillery. I love their product. I love the fact that for $20 to $25 a handle, or at least a 1 liter, you can buy Buffalo Trace or Elijah Craig, or, you know, any of those really good bourbons. I mean, like, for me, when I was making cocktails, Elijah Craig was a standard because it's 94 proof, it holds up perfectly in drinks, and it's also good by itself. You know, that was our premium well. That was our, you know, if somebody asked for an old fashioned Manhattan, whatever, and they didn't want it with rye, they were getting Elijah Craig. You know, and I've always thought that was a great bourbon, just in general.
Yeah.
I do love Four Roses. I miss the fact that I don't sell it anymore, but that's a good one.
Yeah. I'm more of a larceny guy myself when it comes to
you like the weeded?
Yeah,
like the heavier wheat.
Larceny hits the spot, man. Larceny and one of my other favorites is Penelope.
Oh yeah, that's the whoops, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Hit my camera. Penelope is the one that friggin' whatchamacalls it, Pravada's big on, right?
I don't know, but
I think they are.
Penelope it stays by my side.
Nice.
It stays right here by my side. So
nice.
Anytime I need a drink, that and this right here is probably never going to be touched. Well, touched once in the blue. So my dad bought this from Grenada, which is some overproof rum. It's some it's pure white rum, and it's 138 proof.
In an episode that I have coming out next week, I grabbed some Frothes from Jamaica.
Okay.
It's like 115.6, I think.
Yeah.
Or sorry, it's God, what's the proof? It's 57 point. Yeah. So it's like 115. Yeah. It's like 57% alcohol by volume. Like, good stuff. I love Smith & Cross was another one that I really enjoyed making cocktails with. That was one of my favorite rums. Trying to think of some of the really good overproof stuff that's out there. Grenada is like one of those where you kind of have to have an in order to get rum that isn't blended with like another country's rum. You know, like, there are a lot of companies that'll do blends of different things where they'll have some stuff from like Haiti, Grenada, Haitian rum, the 3-star and all of that fun stuff. Those are really good too. I've always been a big fan of those.
Well, if you know, the plan is I'm planning on going to Grenada in May. That's the plan, and I haven't been back since I was 6. It's it's so bad that when I call my grandmother, we'll talk for like 5 minutes, and then "Oh, she goes, oh, you got your passport? No, bye."
Hmm.
She goes, "You got your?"
Yeah,
I'm
she
like,
just wants to know when you're going out.
"When
That's
I'm
it.
coming out," you know. So it's but in Trinidad they have a rum that's there, but it's so high, and it's so high in proof that they won't let it, that they won't let you fly with it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I'm like, anytime any of my coworkers go back to Trinidad, I'm like, yo, can you sneak one over? They're like, listen, like TSA, the second they see it, they pull her out your bag. So it's
Yeah.
like, there's no way of you getting it back here. But
that was like the thing when I was in Cuba in 2017. I was like,
yeah,
how do I get Havana Club back?
yeah,
Because like I think that they would let you take like one, like up to a liter or a
yeah,
750 bottle or something, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like I want the
a few.
maestro, I want the 7 year, I want
Oh,
I want
I
all of
had
them.
I had the 7 year. Um, One guy from the shop, he went to Cuba, and as a retirement gift, his wife gave him a bottle of the 7 year.
Hmm.
And we were over there, and me and him got done with a podcast, and he was like, "Let's crack this open." He's like, "I haven't cracked it open yet." He goes, "You never have Havana Club?" I'm like, "Nope." He poured it. It was amazing. It was
Yeah.
like it was like a sweet cherry type of cedar type of drink, and I was like, this is trouble,
Hmm.
because it's one of those drinks that you have, and you can just sip on it all day, and no burn. It was smooth with no problems. That's the problem especially when you're drinking sweet, as far as like stuff that's mixed with honey. I remember one guy that comes up from Maryland. He brought up Starlight Honey,
Okay.
and that right there had no burn, and it was extra sweet, and that was something that you could drink a bottle of it and you wouldn't even realize it.
Yeah. A little bit of sugar helps the medicine go down.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It makes the medicine go down real nice.
Yep. No,
And by
I
the end,
mean, like, just like cigars, not to cut you off, but I mean, just
go
like
ahead.
cigars, my daily is whatever I'm smoking or drinking next. Like
Okay.
that's really it. I am a believer that you should try as many things as you possibly can when it comes to food and beverage, and
Yep.
definitely cigars, right?
Yep.
And I felt as though that it's helped push me a long way in a very short window of time, although that short window now seems to be getting older and older as I talk to more people that have
Mhm.
been smoking for
Yeah.
shorter times than me.
Yeah.
It's like one of those where I, I appreciated when I first started out thinking like I need to buy boxes and boxes of certain cigars that I love and this stick and that stick, or certain bottles of things that I loved, and buy cases of wine and different things like
Hmm.
that. And then the more and more that I went down the rabbit hole, the more I realized that, just like everybody else says, you really don't know enough until you admit
Hmm.
that you don't know enough, kind of
Yeah.
deal. And that's really it. Like, I mean, it took me a while to like kind of open up to the wine world, but I feel as though the more and more wines that I taste, the more I can appreciate it a little bit more. It's one of those where like if people ask me to discern flavors on cigars, I'm like, cool, got it, no
Hmm.
problem. People ask me to discern flavors on spirits. I don't care if it's 150 proof or if it's 50 proof or if it's 15 proof. Like, I got you, no problem. Doesn't matter, beer, wine, spirit, whatever. When somebody hands me a bottle of wine and they're like, tell me about the flavors, I'm like, man, it tastes like grape juice. Tastes like grapes. Like
Oh
I get
man.
when somebody tells me what they get, I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of pick that out now.
Yeah.
I kind of taste that. But when I
Well,
just drink it by myself, I'm like, yeah, it tastes like red wine. Tastes like white wine. Like it's just a harder one for me because I don't. I feel like one, my palate's more accustomed to spirits, much easier,
mhm.
right? And wine is such a lower alcohol by
Yeah.
volume, so it's harder to pick out certain things. And then also like I don't know. I never had the inclination to like just solely drink wine. So I've never like really opened up to it until the last few years. But I've always enjoyed champagne with cigars. I think that that's a great pairing going into those. the Churchill pairing.
Yeah.
I like the refreshing quality of it, the effervescence on the champagne, and then the bready, yeasty kind of flavors that you get off of certain bottles of bubbles because of the yeast contact, the lees as they call it. And it's just, I feel like it's a great complement to several cigars.
So, have you ever watched? It's this black guy who's on, I think, Eater, and he goes and he does wine tastings, and
Okay.
they don't tell him what it is. So he's a sommelier, and he'll go and he'll taste it, and of course, like he'll go swish it around and do all that fancy, and then he'll go, all right, I get apricots, but it's the one thing about it is with white, you're always gonna get a sense of apple. Like they normally say like you'll get like apple or pear or something of that. It's almost like smoking a cigar where like these aren't mixed or infused with anything, but somehow some way you're getting certain flavor notes, and that's the same thing that happens with that's the same thing that happens with the wine.
Yeah, 100%. Like you're always safe with red wines and like jammy flavors or berries or maybe like a little bit of pepper or certain leathers or textures and using those as like kind of default flavors. The same way with like white wines, people often go, okay, if it's oaked, I'm going to get a little bit of butter and some cedar or some spice, and then if it's unoaked and in stainless, I'm going to get apricots. I'm going to get pears. I'm going to get apple. Like there's definitely default flavors that you can just pick out based off of color and like skins and different things like that. But it works the same way, I feel like, with the shade of color on a wrapper on a cigar.
Yeah.
Like you can tell when you're smoking a Habano or a Maduro, like, all right, the Maduro is probably going to give me a little bit more black pepper, probably a little bit more leather, probably a little bit more chocolate.
Yep.
And the Habano is probably going to give me a little bit more bready, creamy, maybe lighter spice, oak spice, cedar spice notes. And yeah, sure, like you can use those generalizations. I agree. But that's why I tend to wait until I'm about halfway done with the cigar before I pick something to pair it with, because I feel as though that's a better way to kind of gauge what I think personally, because once again, it's a cocktail mindset. I know what the base is, what I'm using. Now it's about how do I accentuate it. And that's going back to what you were saying about blending too, is that you kind of know where the journey that you want to go. You just want to figure out the accents to it.
Exactly.
I did the channel because of the fact that I wanted to share my passion for cigars with the world. That's first and foremost.
Yeah.
I took the approach of I have accredited knowledge in a field that I think is a complement to this, smoking cigars. I truly believe that alcohol can be a complement to it, and that it allows you to taste more. And I know that Sanj differs from me on this, but I believe that it does.
You know what? So I was at work, and like before I had you on, I did like a deep dive on your channel.
Sure.
And I was just like, oh my God, Sanj. I'm like, oh my God, like, because Sanj's thing is the first time you have the cigar, have it with water.
Yeah.
Then you pair it. So he doesn't care about the pairing. The one thing he cares about is when he was like, pair it after the first time you have it. That's his thing.
Sure.
So
I almost agree wholeheartedly with it. I have one point of contention.
Go for it.
My point of contention with Sanj's, you should smoke the cigar once before you pair it, is number one, it's under the assumption that you have more than one of them, right?
Yes, very true.
Number two, it's that you're saying that you can't taste more flavors by pairing. And I disagree with that. Because there's this mindset that if you pair something with it, it's going to completely overtake what you're tasting. And I kind of said this in an episode with the blending room that's going to come out later on this month, but we see a lot of marketing around pH, right? The pH of soil, the pH of water, the pH of our bodies. And plants, like tobacco, have a different pH than our mouths. Now, when you ferment plants like tobacco, you get a different pH as well. Typically, cigars tend to be alkaline to our palates, right? And it would make sense that things like coffee, which are acidic to our palates and kind of go further down the scale than cigars do into that acidic category, pair so well with cigars. Because when I have coffee that's acidic and I have a cigar that's alkaline and I'm smoking this for 2 hours, forcing my palate to taste all of these heavy alkaline properties, right? And I pair it with something like this, it creates balance in my palate. Now, water, especially like most of the water that we drink, is pretty much the same as our palates are. It sits at that like 7 and a half, somewhere right around there, right? So water doesn't do much to change that. Water just, it acts as a cleanser. It helps remove some of the oils, some of the tartar, some of the things that have built up in our palates, but it's not. Roger's addicted to orange soda. Yeah, sorry. Well, but here's the thing though, is that when we get something like soda, right, this has acid in it, just like coffee. It's a different flavor, but it's still, we're talking about science now, right? So this has acid. Why does soda pair so well with our cigars? Why do people love orange soda or Diet Dr. Pepper? Because of the acid. It's what you're putting your mouth to. It's also like, take sugar, for instance. People say, oh, you get cigar sick, have a piece of chocolate, have something. What are you doing? Is that piece of chocolate really going to reset your body? No, it's giving your brain the interpretation of sweet and sugar. It's helping your palate tell your brain that this person isn't under stress. They're going to be okay. They're going to live. Their system that is craving food and wants them to have something sweet or something acidic to help all this alkalinity is going to go back to balance soon. And it's telling your brain that so that you stop freaking out, making yourself nauseous. Right? So my whole entire point is this. Cigars have nicotine in them, as we know. Nicotine is water soluble, which means that the nicotine in a cigar, if we throw this into a pool of water, right, the nicotine in it, not all of it, but some of it will be held in that pool of water because it's water soluble. Right? Following me?
I'm listening.
Take the cigar out. It's completely soaking wet, this, that, or the other thing. It's going to have less nicotine because some of it's in the body of water, right? Okay. So think about our mouths as the body of water. We get all this nicotine. We get all these flavors, all coating our mouths, right? Because we're the body of water on this one. After a while, what happens to your palate? You smoke too many cigars in a row. You smoke a cigar for too long. Everything starts to kind of taste the same, right? You need water. You need something to counteract that. So yeah, you drink water, which is the same pH as your palate. Are you really going to taste more flavors with water? No. You drink something that's acidic or something that's a little bit sweeter, something like alcohol, it's going to open up the ability for your palate to kind of just get a refresh, get a break for a minute, and taste some of those other flavor molecules. Kill taste buds. Well, here's the thing, man. Like, there's stunting of the taste buds that's already happened by you smoking a cigar for 2.5 hours. How do you wake them up? You know, what happens when you put food in your mouth after you're done tasting a cigar? Does your food taste as good as it does when you haven't smoked a cigar that day? Probably not. You know, what happens when you go and brush your teeth right afterwards? Does your toothpaste and your Listerine taste the exact same as it always does? No. It's been tainted with all that tobacco and everything in your mouth. So it works the same way. And I feel like with alcohol, with coffee, with the ability for you to create a pairing out of it, you're refreshing and you're waking up some of those taste buds. You know, like a lot of people like myself who went through the wonderful effects of COVID and losing your your taste and your smell, right? That was a very weird journey. because all of our flavor receptors were basically muted for 2 weeks. My wife and I both. And it was only like when I was able to like start smelling candles and smell my own coffee that I was drinking every morning that I was like, oh man, it smells so good. Did it kill my flavor receptors and my ability to taste? Not entirely. It just shut them down. They needed to be woken back up, you know? And for some of us, it took even longer than that for us to taste and smell certain things, even though we could taste and smell other things. So it's like, are they killed? No, they're shut off. They've been completely like rendered useless because of the fact that we've been smoking cigars back to back or for so long. So that's my point of contention with the pairing side of it, is that there's heavier molecules in a cigar that you can't taste over time, especially as you keep on burning this thing down. It gets hotter, your palate gets fatigued, and you need that refresh, whatever it is, whether it's a cracker, whether it's soda, coffee, or alcohol. Alcohol being a particular one because of the fact that it basically turns on different receptors in your palate when you're tasting alcohol.
Mm.
The same way that like
Wow.
when you do have wine and you have a wine that has a decent amount of acidity to it, it makes you salivate, it makes you ready for food. And when you have a whole big fat greasy meal and you have something that has a little bit more acidity to it, or like a heavy big red wine with your steak tastes better.
Yeah.
There's a pairing there, right? It's the same way with the cigar. Heavier. What happens with a steak? Well, I mean, you have that process where you're basically cauterizing the outside of the steak, and you're getting this enhancement of black pepper and all those heavy fats and everything that are really weighing down your palate. And then you drink a sip of wine, cuts right through it, refreshes. You do it again. Same thing.
Wow. That was that right there was a good learning experience for me, because I one thing I don't consider myself is an expert or somebody who knows everything, because I feel like I know this much when it comes to cigars, even though I'm there and I'm learning, and I know I know a lot, but to me I feel like I know a little bit, and like it was with certain cigars. To me, bourbon goes perfect with it. Like when I smoked the Casa Cuevas Patrimonio, when I have that cigar with some bourbon, it goes together perfectly.
Absolutely.
It's just something that I get when I do that retro. Something that I get.
Absolutely. And I mean, bourbon's a great one because of the fact that it's already starting from a sweeter standpoint.
Yep.
With corn. And then with bourbon, I mean, anybody who's ever had like straight moonshine will be the first one to tell you that is some rough stuff. That's why it's called like Kill Devil and Lightning and all those weird terms for moonshine, right? Like that is some heavy stuff. And it's only because of the barrel aging that it's bourbon, realistically, right? Like the amount of extraction, the amount of influence that maturation and aging has on the bourbon category is unlike pretty much anything else outside of rum, right?
Wow.
Like cognac already starts off very aromatic, distilled from grapes, French oak, which is not as flavorful really as US oak or other oaks that are out there as far as their influence, but also like where things are distilled at, how hot it's going into the barrel. Like with bourbon, it can't exceed 125. It can't exceed 160 proof essentially, or like 80% before it goes in. And eau de vie, cognac, what it starts off as is in there much lower in alcohol by volume, because bourbon needs a lot of wood penetration, a lot of barrel extracted flavors. It needs all of that to kind of soften up. And that's why too, like, we've seen it with the kind of the rise and the leveling off of the great bourbon day that we live in now. But there were a lot of really young bourbons that came out where they were only aging them like 2 years, 3 years maybe, because it basically says that once it hits wood, you can call it bourbon. Kentucky Straight's a little bit different legislation, but they want it to be a minimum of 4 to 5 years, which I think is right. But
Mhm.
like for just U.S. bourbon law, you age it in a barrel from U.S. wood, you're good.
Mm.
So there was a lot of really young stuff that came out, and I don't think that it did well in market because really young bourbon still tastes very aggressive on your palate. And it's just one of those things, man, where people were trying to cut corners, and I think that a lot of it got found out. There was one company that was just using barrel staves. They were just like aging stuff and calling it whiskey using bourbon barrel staves and just
Oh,
throwing it
wow.
into the vats. And it's like you can't cut corners with whiskey like that. It requires a certain amount of time. And also like depending upon where you're aging it too is another big thing. Like in Grenada, where there's a lot more humidity than Kentucky,
Yep.
you get aging at a much more accelerated rate,
Then
but it's
yeah.
also very, very easy for you to get too much oak on your rum.
Mm.
So what ends up happening with a lot of rum distilleries being that there isn't a law in a lot of places to how much sugar you use, you can add a ton of sugar and mask some of the off flavors in rum.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like the guy who owns Real McCoy rum, he would go to rum conventions and he would take like a bricks meter and he would measure the amount of rum in somebody's rum and he would ask them like, "Hey, how much sugar are you adding to your rum?" And they would be like, "Oh, our rum doesn't have any added sugar." And he's like, "Bullshit. This thing says that you got like 28 grams just in this little tasting
Wow.
cup. Like, what's up? What are you doing?" And like
Wow.
he caught a lot of flack for it, but he basically made a chart of
Mm.
like, some of the most popular rums, Zacapa 23.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people love Zacapa in
Yeah.
the cigar industry. A lot of
Yeah.
people love Zacapa. It's a good rum. It tastes really good. There's a lot of sugar in that thing.
Yeah. Like the one I can't drink cognac. So that's the one thing I can't like. My brother he loves his Hennessy.
Hmm?
You know,
I
he
love
love
Hennessy.
lo-
I like
he love
Hennessy.
he loves his Hennessy. He loves his what's the what's
What up,
what's
Unicorn?
Jay's huh? Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just saying what's up to
Yeah,
Unicorn.
no, yeah. What's the one that Jay-Z came out with?
Jay-Z came out with Douce.
Douce, yeah. So he
Douce.
he loves that one, and the one I tried that I was very, very surprised by it. It was actually very, very good. Was actually Shannon Sharp's
The
Remy
Shay
Ma.
Shay.
Yeah, Shay stuff is it's pretty good. It was smooth.
I've
I
tried
was very
Shay's stuff.
surprised.
He was actually one of the only cognacs at this high-end whiskey tasting last year at the Win Encore. It's called
Yeah,
the Universal Whiskey Experience, and
yeah.
it's like a $3,000 ticket. But
Oh my
they
god.
have some really bomb stuff for you to taste. Like you get your money's worth almost
Yeah,
if you can drink that much in a night, I guess.
yeah,
But like really good stuff. And Shay was there. I got to meet Shannon Sharp. He was cool. Just talking about his cognac and everything. And this
yeah,
was before like the podcast blew up.
yeah.
Now,
Forget about
it's
it.
like forget
Forget
about
about
it.
it. He
But
he
do
can't keep it in
say
stock.
no. Do say XO, the 200 and like $250 bottle,
Yeah.
that won best in show at a competition that I judged. So
Wow.
every year I judge the Vegas Global Spirit Awards, and we get
Yeah.
like a couple of hundred, no, a couple of thousand entries. I probably do at my table. There's like 4 judges tables, and each judge's table does probably about 250, 300 spirits 2 days back to back.
Oh my god.
And this is why I specifically talk about resetting your palate,
Yeah.
pH. Like because these are all things, and not to sound like a science nerd or a geek, even though that's what we all are about cigars, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like somebody can tell me, yeah, I had 2 cigars and I didn't taste the second one as much,
Mhm.
and it's like, yeah, because you probably just didn't reset your palate, you know.
Exactly.
And how do you smoke 6 cigars in a day? Not that I do that all the time. It's probably like once or twice a year, and usually at a convention that I'm doing it.
Hmm.
But how do you do that and like wake up the next day and not have it on your breath or not have, dude? Because you gotta reset your palate. You gotta do the
Hmm.
things that like
Yeah.
people the wine people that taste through 60, 80 different wines in 3 hours, 4 hours, they have methods to do this so that glass 60, although it's not going to taste as, they're not going to have as many flavor receptors available to them
Yes.
as glass 1. They're still going to be able to pick out the apricot, the apple.
Exactly. Yeah.
They have methods to doing this. So, it's key to kind of use some of that. And that's one of the messages that I really wanted to send about the pairing world, right? Is that, like, not only does your alcohol enhance this experience from the point that it chills you out, relaxes you, puts you in that mode even that much more, but also from the simple standpoint that your palate can taste so many more things with the addition of it.
Wow. Like just now.
I didn't say, though, the Douce XO, I'm sorry. The Douce XO won like Best in Show 2 years ago. And the only notes that we have on things are like, what does the bottle cost? What's the proof? And what is it? So is it whiskey, cognac, whatever? So, like, we'll get a row of whiskeys. We'll get a row of cognac. We'll get a row of this. And, like, we sample it, write down our little notes, and then we confer with each other. Okay, what did you think about one? Was it platinum? Was it gold? Was it bronze, silver, whatever? Okay, it's platinum. Should we send it to sweepstakes? Yeah, we'll send it to sweepstakes. So we all taste this, and it's, cognac, it says $250 or $230, whatever. It's been aged this long, so on and so forth. Okay, so write it down, platinum. All right, send it to sweeps. So then it had to go from the table to the big judges table where we all meet on the second day, and it had to go up against all the other cognacs that any other table had submitted. It won that. Then it had to go against all the other brown spirits, all the whiskeys, all the aged rums, all the gins, everything, won that. Then it had to go up against all the vodkas, tequilas, mezcals, everything else that's a spirit. And it won that. And it won the Best in Show, and it was Douce XO. Lo and behold, at the end of the show, we found out.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the first time I was a believer.
That's something that you're like, man, like, because the crowd that is marketed to, you think it's going to be very low grade, it's not going to be something that a connoisseur is going to go and search and really go after. You think it's going to be just the regular run of the mill?
Well, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I kind of started with cognacs and why I started with tequilas and I kept a lot of the whiskeys. If you go to like the very beginning of my reviews, I started with a lot of spirits that people wouldn't commonly associate with cigar pairings, because I wanted people to open up their eyes a little bit more if they were discovering my channel, and if they wanted to get to know me, was I don't just drink blended scotch, even though single malts and blended scotches are kind of what I started off with when I first started smoking cigars, because other people were giving them to me to pair.
Yeah.
Right. There was definitely the orange cream soda, or the orange flavored soda. That was a big one at the local cigar shop for me. So that's why Orange Crush and Roger. Sorry, Roger, if I painted you with the orange soda, but I've always enjoyed that myself. But yeah, I started off with blended whiskeys, blended scotches, because that's what all the old heads that are at the shop were drinking anyway, right? The Johnny Blues, the Johnny Blacks, the Macallans, the occasional peaty, smoky Lafroigs. That was what they were drinking.
I'm sorry. I just got to cut you off right there when you brought up the blue label. To me, it is the most overrated drinkable. Like I'd rather drink the black. I'd rather drink the black than drink the blue. I was like, because my dad had a bottle of the blue, and I was like, Dad, he had blue, green, and black, and out of all of them, I like the black more than the green and the blue. Okay. And I was like, this is crazy, because they want $200 for a bottle of the blue.
So I get what you're saying, and I don't fully disagree with, the blue is pretty kind of like overhyped in a lot of ways. Can be for sure. I think that I always was a big fan of the gold. The gold was my favorite. I also like the platinum. When the platinum came out, I don't think that it's still out, but the platinum was really good too. But I was always a Johnny Gold kind of guy.
You know what? I had Johnny Gold the other day, and I was kind of like, you know what? It was good. It was smooth, but it had a really peaty taste to it, and I couldn't do it.
Which is funny that you say black, because the black probably has like more smoke than the blue to me, I think. But maybe, I don't know. I did just do the blue on the channel. I still have some blue left, so maybe that's what we got to pair with this in a minute. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that I have any black. I got to check. But it's like, the debate is whatever. It's subjective. It's just like saying that your favorite Fuente cigar is this.
Yeah.
Or your favorite Padron is this and that. Like, what is your favorite 1964? What is your favorite 1926? Like, that's really what it comes to with Johnny Walker and me. I personally, I became a Johnny Walker fan later on. I was always more Doers, and Famous Grouse was a big one for me. In the blended stuff, I really enjoyed those a lot. Doers was like the first Scotch pairing that I had with cigars, so I always have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for it. And I recently did like the Dewar's 12 year that won number 3 in Whiskey Advocate and is inexpensive. Wow. I think that is a phenomenal pairing whiskey for cigars. Somebody's looking for Scotch, like Dewar's 12 year, you cannot go wrong. And I would always, this was the funny thing about getting into the bar scene after becoming a cigar guy, because being that I started with cigars before I started really like working in the alcohol world.
Yeah.
Everybody was paying more for single malt scotches. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. This is like me smoking a cigar that only has tobacco from one country and versus a cigar that has tobacco from other countries blended together in it, and like sometimes you'll get porros that are amazing, right? The Cuban stuff, the Dominican stuff, the Nicaraguan stuff, now the Honduran stuff or Ecuadorian stuff, right? But like some of the best blends have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, creates like all that complexity. And that's what a blended scotch to me is. It's like, I love blended scotches. I think that, Johnny Blue and Black and Gold and Doers and some of those blends that are out, Chivas Regal, man, like they have so much flavor and complexity going on, and a little bit of smoke here and a little bit of, honey there. It's fantastic. I think they're, very like misrepresented, misunderstood in that world.
Peter said something very interesting. He said that Texas whiskey is hot. And like
100%.
I would love, because like Texas is whiskey bourbon country. Like you can pretty much find everything down there.
I mean, yeah, they definitely get the lion's share of the stuff from Kentucky. That's for sure.
Yeah, and and if you're like, and you hear about these bottles that everybody like, especially like, even with Peter will show off some of the stuff that he has, that he finds, and you're like, man, like I never even know that they made that, that bottle, or just like allocated liquors. So I remember I was at work and we went and like all of our high-end stuff is of course on top. One of the engineers knocked all of it over.
Nice. That's quite interesting that they're an engineer.
Yeah, knocked all of it over. So we're talking about allocated bottles because you know how hard it is to get allocated stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%. You have to already be selling stuff. I mean, it's like working in a cigar shop.
Yeah, So, and the guy comes in, he goes, I've been trying. He's like, it took me 8 months to get that one bottle right there. And and so like, our hotel, like we're ran by Hyatt, but we're run by the Takanaka group. So whenever we see like Japanese people come in, we know that they're part of the Takanaka group. So when they drink, they just point to that. We have a bottle of of Japanese whiskey that's like $20,000,
Mm-hmm.
and they go just
Yep.
Very very nicely to say just give us that bottle,
Sure.
and they'll go and finish both of them that we have.
Yeah.
And of course, like I don't know if we charge them or not, but like they just go and that's what they go through. Like
Yeah.
the Japanese,
100%.
they kill it. I think it's time. I think it's time for me to pair, to grab me a drink now.
Yeah, I agree. We should do
You
that.
know. So I'm gonna be back in about 2 minutes. I'm gonna grab me a glass and pour me a cup of Penelope, and
There you go.
Michael can entertain you guys.
Not a
Hold on.
problem. Well, I'll go back through the chat and see what we're old
Yeah.
fashions with Brian Alexardo Cherry. Nice.
Mm.
Pete
So if
said that he's a rye guy and Michter's would be his daily if he drank every day. I don't doubt it. Michter's is great. I love Michter's. I have a bottle, Pete, signed by the master distiller currently. I was down there at the distillery, if you're still in the chat. I was down there at the distillery, I don't think I told you, in 2019, down in Kentucky at Michter's. Fantastic. Still haven't opened up that bad boy on the channel. I don't know. Tonight might be a good night. Remy, Doucet. Let's see. Got a bottle of Havana Club 7. That's nice, Mike. That is nice. I do enjoy that. I don't know if I would drink Havana Club 7 by itself very often, but yep. In drinks, do love the Havana Club 7. So what's going on, everybody? I don't even know. Are we still going on? Yeah, we still got it going over here. Cool. What did I miss? Just hanging? Yeah, I was listening in on EKB's live stream last night. That was fun. It was nice that him and DJ kind of put out some stuff today. I know that I had my video that went up yesterday, but we all kind of heard the news on Brad and everybody. Rest in peace over there to that. It really sucked this week getting that information like midweek because I feel like that was definitely a cool bridge that we were building to talking with Zeal and possibly having Brad on the channel.
So I'm gonna pour me a little bit of this Penelope Toasted, which is one of my favorites.
Sweet. I'm gonna go grab one right now.
Go for it. Nice little heavy pour. Cheers to you guys. That's nice. So Mike, how was that Year of the Dragon, the Gurkha? Like, was it good? And I am cracking open an Oreo's tail, and I'm gonna have me a Connecticut Oreo. You know what? Gurkhas do like. I'm sorry, like I don't like to talk mess about no brand. So but your your comment was funny. You know what? A lot of people are saying that the Year of the Dragon was a lot better than they expected. And it's crazy because it makes you wonder: is it because of is it because the bar is so low for them, or is it like since the bar is so low, you're like, all right, well, for them, it was actually good for them, or was it actually a really good cigar? And that's the one thing I wonder with it. Eh, what the thing is I think the one problem when it comes to, especially with a company like Gurkha, sometimes all money isn't good money. And when you make a deal like that, and you have no idea that your brand is going to get, number one, a bad reputation, and also two, secondly, like it basically just killed your brand itself, because from what I hear, Gurkha used to be really, really good. Like I used to hear like Gurkha used to make some of the best cigars, and now, you know, unless, and the problem also is you're getting two different cigars if you're getting it from a brick and mortar or if you're getting it off of the other place where they sell them. So it's something to where if you smoked that one before from online and you had a bad experience with it, you're not going to go to your brick and mortar just to try it out again. So it's frustrating, and I hate to see brands sell because of the fact that the love and the passion that the owner made is going to be nice. The Duce. Yes.
Why not?
Yep.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Yo, more better. Hove not give me off a polo sweater. Roll with the ROC. Hey fella.
Oh man, big pimping right now.
Oh, hey. So it's something funny about this. This is gonna be a little bit off topic, but at the shop they were saying that Jay-Z is gonna be next.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. They say that they're saying they're waiting to get rid of Diddy. And then Jay-Z is gonna be next on the list to go down.
Did I run down to the store? No, Cody. No, I had that at the Casa de la Master Your Ash, ready to go, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't doubt it, man. I don't doubt it. It's crazy how P. Diddy in 1 week, just like all that stuff kind of came out, and man, it like, jeez, Meek Mills, Usher, like Usher was just on Club Shay Shay.
Yeah. You want to know why that's even worse is the transcripts of Vince McMahon.
Oh yeah,
that was bad.
That was
awful. That was bad.
That was bad.
But you know what? But when you hear it, you can go, I can see Vince doing something like that.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. He was into something, man. You're like, oh, he liked feet. Yeah. Oh,
okay,
he liked people playing with his poo poo. All right, no, that kind of makes sense.
That was the thing. It was the nastiest part was just the fact that he said that he would doodle on her and keep going. Like, oh
yeah,
like how
I mean, like, everybody has their fetishes, but that one's kind of weird. The whole entire poo poo stuff, that's a little weird to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So his new name is gonna be it's not gonna be Vince, it's gonna be Shit McMahon now from now on.
Like, that is not a wrestling script. That is not a normal wrestling script. I mean, we went with some wild stuff in the Attitude Era, but that is not a normal wrestling
that is not. Yeah, exactly. You know.
Yeah, like the regular Douce is okay. I have to say the XO, I wish that I had a bottle of that. That is on a whole different level.
It's well, I think the one thing is that they figured that like we'll do whatever with the regular Douce because it's only $60 a bottle, and let's see if we can actually make something good with the $250 bottle because they figure that people aren't going to spend that money on that.
So I went to Hennessy in 2019, and I visited the distillery in France.
Wow.
And it was a lot like the Patron tour that I went on originally in Guadalajara. It was a very eye-opening experience for me because it was like if you just take Hennessy, right? The connotations about and stereotypes about who drinks it, why they drink it, all that stuff, right? And then you go to Hennessy and watch how the old French master blenders, master of cognacs, go through the process of selecting and blending the eau de vies for even just Hennessy VS, right? Because the distinction between VS, VSOP, XO, right? The common nomenclature that indicates how long something's aged for and how many eau de vies typically are in the actual blend. When you just watch the process that they go through to make sure that everything that they're tasting tastes the exact same as Hennessy 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, just for VS, and how they work to do that, it would give people such an appreciation for what goes into these bottles of cognac. That's like, a lot of people always ask, like, what makes a $50 cigar a $50 cigar? I don't think I could tell and try to like preach and explain that story the way that I can properly justify a $50 bottle of cognac, because a $50 bottle of cognac, there's like so many hundreds of eau de vies that have been created at Hennessy that they're going through different farmers that they've contracted to make, different cognacs or eau de vies. And then they're blending those together to recreate Hennessy every single year. The same way that Johnny Walker, right? In order to create Black Label and Blue Label, they're taking whiskeys from X distillery, from Y distillery, and they're putting these blends together, and then they have a few people as master blenders tasting it to make sure that it's the exact same Johnny Walker Black Label that your dad drank. Like it's that level of precision that they're doing with their palates every single year that makes that bottle. So even like Douce regular, even that $60 bottle, there's a lot of people working on that. It takes a lot of skill to make something that precise. But I do agree that, like, they probably said, hey, this has got to be a little bit softer, a little bit more neutral, something that we can just kind of like, put out there in the same level as Hennessy VS. And I mean, like, another thing too is that Douce doesn't have a VS. Every single bottle of Douce standard is VSOP. It even says it like on the back of the cross is VSOP. So they only do VSOP and XO. That's it. They don't do a VS.
It's very interesting because, like Shannon came on. I remember he came on Undisputed one day, and Hennessy sent him everything.
Sure. Like
they went and sent him bottles that I've never even seen before from Hennessy.
Sure.
And then after that episode, maybe 2 months later, I'm going to the local liquor store. They got that $5,000 bottle in the store because he promoted it.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, who's buying that? Like it's that. Have you ever tried like those upper echelon, like the ones that are like 2,000, 5,000?
The Richard and the Perry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can tell by the smile on your face that those are really good.
They're fantastic, man. Just like the Louis XIII, the Black Pearl, and the standard Louis XIII. That's like, now what is it, like $7,000 for a big boy and $3,000 for a small Louis XIII? Like,
what? What just came to me when you were talking about because it made me think of the aftermarket when in bourbon whiskey, and how
Sure.
these allocated bottles now, because Blanton's used to be $60, now you can't get no less than 120.
Right.
So,
Sure.
and this is just my opinion on this, is when it comes to cigar brands, we kind of create that hype that they'll throw shit at a wall, and say, all right, well, we're going to charge $60 for the cigar, but we're going to see if people buy it. If it sits, then we know, all right, well, we can't charge that much for our cigars.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah,
what
no, I
happened?
mean, like,
Yeah.
it's the reason why every
Mhm.
Davidoff is above $30.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
well, the one thing that like working the register, the one thing I realized is when people come in for Davidoffs, that's all. That's it. That's all they smoke.
Yeah.
Like it's very hard to get them to buy something that's not Davidoff,
Sure,
and they'll go
100%.
to
But they created that. They
yeah,
created that loyalty, that brand loyalty, right? And the people that are loyal to that brand don't mind spending a couple of bucks extra because they
yeah,
want their Davidoff.
exactly.
It's just like Padron people too. Padron is able to sit in that echelon similar to Davidoff because they've built up that brand. So
Hmm.
the people that are Padron smokers, and don't get me wrong, I like a lot of Padrones that are out there. I do. Smoked a couple on the channel that I enjoyed. But the people that are established as only Padron smokers, they're bought into that brand. That is their brand. It's like the guy that eats a Big Mac every single day
Yeah,
and has for the last 30 years. Like, he's bought into that brand.
it's like don't like and like there's certain brands that I really enjoy,
Mhm.
and there's and for me it's a little different because when you meet the owner of the brand and you kind of have a personal relationship with the brand, you kind of favor that brand because you want them to do well. So like I'm a big crown head guy. Love crown heads.
Yeah.
Love their cigars. And it's and um but of course like Foundation is making amazing cigars right now. So I really like pretty much everything Foundation came out with. So it's very hard for me to be loyal to one brand when there's so many different cigars out there, and even if like for instance like Perdomo, there's only about 4 or 5 that I can really go. I can actually suggest to somebody and say like I enjoyed the cigar, go for it. The rest of the stuff I'm like I don't know.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
I feel like I feel like there are brands that I can be loyal to because of the fact that I've smoked them for a very, very long
Mhm.
time. But there's some stuff that's unforgivable. Like when when Fuente released the Rare Pink. I love
Yes.
Fuente cigars. I love a lot of Fuente
Yeah.
cigars. The short story I will always tell about it being my kind of like entry
Hmm.
into the journey that I've been on for the last 20 plus years. The short story was $4.25 when I
Yeah.
bought it.
Yeah.
If I have to pay $6.75, $7.25, I'm okay with that. But when it gets over $8, sorry, but I
No,
kind of feel like
it's
I'm
not
being
worth it.
shortchanged. It's
Yeah,
not worth it to me.
it isn't.
The Rare Pinks is a prime example. Like, yeah, let's do an experiment similar to how we did with Opus X. Didn't land, didn't work, and a lot of people gouge the hell out of them. A lot of people
Yeah.
gouge the hell out of the eye
Yeah.
of the bull. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm not here to play that game. I'm not, because I'm loyal to those that are loyal to me as well.
Hmm.
And it's
As
like
as
I
a
want to
consumer.
be I want to be loyal to brands, but I want them to be loyal to me too. If I'm showing you that I'm with you, then I want it to be reciprocated over time. And like I value the brands that, like, when they do want to try something experimental, like Crown Heads with La Vereda, right?
Yep.
And they're going to Ernie, they're getting it done at EPC. Probably got to pay the VIG to Ernie to get Papa Ernie to do some
Yeah.
stuff,
Yep.
right? Like, it's going to be a more expensive cigar. That's okay. It's under $20. Even back in the day, I remember when La Gloria Cubana came out with the Serie
Yep.
R back in the day with the
Yeah.
Humidor and everything in early 2000s, right? That cigar sucked. It was over $20 a stick, right? And it sucked. It was terrible.
Now was that from Ernie or was that one from General?
No, that one was from General. That was way before they had the maestros and everybody kind of come together and help out their their shitty cigars that they were making. But like I remember $20 sticks back in the day. I remember plenty of $20 sticks, especially like what taxes used to be out here in Vegas. Like they've existed. We act like this is a new thing too sometimes, and I think that that's wrong as well. Like there have always been limited editions. And there have always been exorbitantly priced limited editions. It's just a matter of like how much crazier it seems it's gotten over the last few years, where it's like $50 Zodiac, $60 Zodiac, $70 Zodiac, $100 unicorns. Like that's where it really becomes on a massive scale very apparent where the marketing is going and where the quality hasn't changed
at all.
And
it's gotten worse.
Yeah, and like we are very much akin to the fact that the New World cigars that the U.S. has been able to smoke in lieu of not being able to purchase Cubans legally, we're very happy with the success that they've gotten over the last 20 or 30 years to where we can say with no doubt and also no disrespect that the New World cigars go side and side with Cubans, if not better in terms of quality control. Right. Whereas 30 years ago, 20 years ago, that was a hard one. Right. Later, TT. Thanks for hanging out, Texas.
All right. Have a good night, Texas.
Now we can safely say, unlike in the 90s when the Esplendidos and the Siglo 6s and everybody knew that the Monte Cristo #2 and the Partagas Serie D #4, much like present day, like there's nothing like them. Well, there really wasn't like them 25 years ago.
Yes, exactly.
Now, with the world of tobacco being open and more people cultivating and blending from different areas, like there's some really heavy stuff out there from the New World that's solid. It's absolute bangers every year. But the problem is that we've gotten into this trend where everybody has to release a limited edition around some sort of holiday or every single year to celebrate something or commemorate something. It has to be exorbitantly priced and it has to never match up the hype to it.
I think every brand will test their clientele. They'll come out and come out with something that they'll say is ultra premium. It's like look at Foundation. They came out with 2 this year, but it was something to see. All right, will people bite?
Yeah, it was basically just putting the line in the water.
Yeah, it was like, will people bite or will it sell with a flop? And of course, and I think the issue is and this is something that Sanj is shy about. He goes, the problem with the cigar industry is no matter what they do, people will keep buying.
Yeah,
and after a while, it's gonna get to a point where we're gonna like, just as cigar smokers, we're gonna have to put our foot down and say, listen, like we can't do this no more. Like I used to be able to get 2 cigars, and now I can only get 1 because you went up one. It like to them it may not seem like a lot to go up $1.25, but to us, that's a lot. Because for us going from paying $12, to paying, let's use a better, like instead of us paying 14, we're paying 16. Like back in the day, for $16, you better get 2 cigars.
Well, not just that, but we buy by boxes.
Exactly.
20, 25. So that $1.25 ends up being 12 or 25 dollars
more
to the bottom line to the box. So that's where it adds up big time.
Sure. And for me, it's, and also too, like Davidoff just they went up on their prices a few months ago, and for a Royal it used to be $80, but for if you buy a box of 10, you're paying you pay $800, and now that price went up like $5, so now you're paying $850.
Yep.
Honestly, that's rent in some places.
100%. Yeah, it's a mortgage payment.
So
for some people,
yeah, and it's really frustrating to see that,
or
like
half a mortgage payment.
yeah, well, and the one thing is, Saka always says anybody that buys a unicorn is stupid, but but it's hard to say like, anybody that buys that is stupid when now most of your cigars are $15 and up.
Yeah, I think that it's weird, right? It's one of those to where now with the general consensus being that you have to spend $15 to get a good cigar. I think that
Yeah,
that's really like the mindset that needs to be altered
exactly.
because just like with wine, and this is something that I do respect heavily about wine, but also something that I never fucking understood. Um, I respect wine because of the fact that when you go to a restaurant, you can sometimes find a bottle that at the wine store, when you go to buy it and bring it to the restaurant and have it corked, is now been upcharged 4 or 5 times
Uh
just
huh.
for them to store it in their cellar, right? And this has always been like a really huge point of contention for me because like in order for me to have Sanj store a cigar in his humidor,
Mm-hmm.
and then for me to go in and buy it, it is almost virtually no different than the MSRP,
Exactly.
right? So this has always been a huge disconnect with me in the wine world, and one of the reasons why I've always had issues on that side because I thought that it was appalling that restaurants and hotels and bars would get away with charging somebody 4 times as much for a bottle of wine. I
Mm-hmm.
always thought that, like, yeah, sure. Should there be an upcharge? Absolutely. But to take on that inventory and charge people 4 times as much or sometimes five, just to be able to say that you're at a steakhouse
Here's your
ordering
yeah.
XYZ one, that's kind of weird. And it seems as though that the cigar industry in a lot of ways, like you have those shops that do upcharge in order
Yep.
for them to have it for sure. And then you also have like where the MSRP is just so out of bounds that it just doesn't make any sense. And I
Yeah.
mean now too, like with taxation being the way that it is, if you live in a place like California
You're screwed. Or New York.
or in New
I
York, right?
listen.
Yeah.
I don't like. So I work in Manhattan. So
Mhm.
like, and one of my friends is like, "Yo, let's burn one down." And I'm like, yo, did you bring any with you? He's like,
Right.
no. And I'm like, fuck. That means we got to go to Casa. Like we can always go to the little like vape shops, and they'll have like cigars in there, and they won't charge the tax because it's just a cover for them.
Sure.
But they don't have anything really good. So but if you go to Casa Monte Cristo, you're paying 75% tax. So in AJ Cameroon, it is now $16-17, which is
Yeah,
insane.
that's a tough sell, man. Tough
It,
sell.
it, it's like for a Liga, you're paying like $35 for a Liga
Yeah,
in
and I
Manhattan.
mean, like, that's one of the beauties of like Half Wheel, especially because Cigar Aficionado used to only list so many cigars, especially if like they were only advertised with
Yeah,
Cigar Aficionado. Still to this day, they only talk about so many, but
exactly.
you would only know the MSRP on some stuff if you read Cigar Aficionado.
Mm-hmm.
So like I would sit there at my local tobacco shop that obviously had, all the magazines sitting there, and then you look and it's like, oh, La Gloria Cubana Siriar, oh, the MSRP is 10, I just spent 20 on it.
Mm-hmm.
Shit.
And you,
Like
like you feel like you got shafted. Like they bent you over and took you to town.
100%.
And
How are you not going to feel that way? And that's, I feel like we're where the channels I said this too, like the best value that I can bring to YouTube is helping people with how they choose to spend their cigar money, their
mhm,
discretionary income on cigars, which is why, like, I've always been very transparent that I don't have like a set score and I don't have a way to score something outside of
yep,
like, would you buy one, would you buy five, or would you buy a box of them?
yep,
And I think that that's a good way to do it because
yeah,
something that I saw early on was with Cigar Aficionado having all of these ambiguous scores. Like, what separates a 93 from a 92? What separates an 87 from a 90? Like,
Yeah.
It would be very, very easy to rate something like that, but I feel as though it does a disservice to the audience.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I feel like it, like a cigar aficionado, they're a gift and a curse at the same time.
Mhm.
It's a gift for the pub, but it's a curse because you get a lot of haters. Like,
Sure.
EPC gets a lot of hate because the pledge got 98. And
Right.
For me, like the La Historia to me is better than the pledge.
Agreed.
So, it to me, it was kind of something like, how did this get a better score this year than it did last year? Because it won
Right.
2 years in a row. So you're like, hold up, like that doesn't make sense, and it gave them a lot of pushback.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean, like the Oliva V Milanio, which is a fantastic cigar, has won more awards than probably any single cigar brand line has ever won. And it's been over years and years consistently. That's not a knock on Oliva V. It's just a matter of how much the Oliva family spends in marketing for cigar aficionado at the end of the day.
exactly.
And
Yep.
that's, same thing with Ernie. Like, he deserves it. He's a fantastic blender.
Fantastic
He's
blender.
made
One of the best.
really, I mean, you ask anybody,
Yeah.
he's made some of the best cigars. That it's like listening to a music producer, right? When
Yeah.
somebody talks about Dr. Dre or, anybody from the Fugees, or any substantial music producer, like the way that Big Boy even talks about Eminem
Roger.
and working with
Yeah.
him, like as a producer, just as purely a producer. There are people that talk about how they work behind the scenes, and I think that Ernie is one of those guys that helps out so many people in the industry
Yeah.
behind the scenes with his factory, with his farming, with the way that he prepares certain things and just his knowledge in general, right? So it's like,
Well,
yeah, he's well deserving of some of the awards and accolades for sure. But to say that something is a 98 and put it in the same vein as a Siglo 6 or some of the that was another thing that never really struck with me was the Cubans that would always get like the top 90
Yeah.
scores, and it's like, we can't even
because
get those here. What are we
you can't
doing?
get it, so it shouldn't be on the list in the first place. Like,
Shouldn't be on the list in the first place. And like James Suckling would sit there and he would smoke stuff from 20 years ago, and it's like, yeah, that should be a 95.
Yeah.
It really should be.
You know what? Every now and again, Sanj would hit me up with a Cuban. Sanj has 50 million Cubans, and of course the basement.
Sure.
So I remember. So my favorite cigar all time, I don't like. I can smoke the cigar every day. Is the Upman Casa Magnum.
Okay.
Like when Sanj hands me one of those, I'm like a kid in the candy store. Because like I remember the first time he had it, the whole cigar shop smelled floral. It's like a floral bomb.
Yeah, it's one of those cigars where the aromatics that come off of it when you smoke it are almost as good as actually smoking it.
Exactly. You're like I don't even have to smoke it. I can just smell it.
You just smell
it. Actually went and I met Ernie in September.
Okay.
And like I was all excited. I was like a kid in the candy store. I'm talking to Sanj. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm going down to meet Ernie. He's like, and Sanj gave me Pacific rules. He goes, when you meet him, you don't call him Ernie, you call him Mr. Perez, unless he says you call him Ernie. He's a very classy man. I'm like, okay. Yeah, he gave me a whole list, And when I'm there and he's explaining how he enjoys his cigar and how he goes, and when he lights it, he takes a puff and then he just goes and takes in the aroma. Just smells the aroma of the cigar. And he's been around so long, and and we were talking just about how when back in the day, he said that you would wait to the first third to say if a cigar was good or not. So you have to wait to the first third, and then once that first third hit, that's when you actually get all the flavor and and all that magic in that cigar. He goes, now you have to get it from the first puff.
Sure.
From the second you light that cigar, you don't give it time to really tell its story. And it's kind I think it may be more of a new age thing to where we want everything now. We don't want to wait. We don't want to have to wait to really get into a cigar for us to start appreciating it.
Agreed.
Oh,
agreed. That it definitely is just a product of the time, and where everything is about instant gratification.
mm-hmm.
That definitely has a lot to do with it. I feel like too that's one of the reasons why cigars have come back in a very strong way recently, especially with the younger generations.
Yeah,
is the fact that people really got a hard reset during the pandemic. They got to figure out, all right, I've been spending so much time at work and my career and my job. What matters most to me? Well,
yeah,
when all the chips are down, when I can't do anything, these are the people that are around me that I can spend time with, and the things that I enjoy doing. And I think that all of us, from the people that went back to work, the people that started doing different work, people that started to do podcasts and channels, get involved in more of the social media aspect, or just whatever, go back to school. Everybody kind of figured out things that were more important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And what was probably most important. And now, only a couple of years removed from that mindset, but still feeling the effects of all of that kind of trickle downward as we've been, we're still gauging all of that. And part of that is like, all right, what are the ways that we relax? Well, we relax by smoking cigars. We relax by having a couple of cocktails, whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
Now everybody's kind of like really channeled that a little bit more to figure out what they enjoy the most. And I think that cigars will always have that place in the world for that very reason.
So my question to you is, when it comes to cigars, like who inspires you when it comes to your cigar channel, as far as like before you started, who did you like look like man, like I like the way that he does his thing.
So for me, right, I didn't get into cigars because of my dad. I didn't get into cigars because of a male or a female or any kind of figure in my life that had previously smoked cigars. It was just in sharing that experience with somebody after a hotel party, right?
No, I meant like as far as like your YouTube channel. So
no,
like,
no, 100%. Okay. I'm gonna, just like every long-winded story that I have. I apologize.
Oh, sorry. Go for it. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Cigars for me were a completely like renegade kind of thing that became my thing.
Yeah.
Just like some of the spirits that I started drinking, and the bartending thing was purely renegade. And the channel was inspired because I was helping during the pandemic one of my colleagues in the industry work on his cocktail YouTube, gentleman by the name of Livio, who hosts Master Your Glass. You can kind of bridge the connection between where the name
came from. I like that.
And he's a fellow master mixologist who, once again, bartended in Italy for a very long time. He wrote the curriculum for the United States Bartenders Guild as far as an accreditation for mixology. So he was very instrumental in creating the guidelines to create master mixologists in the country. And is just very well respected in this industry. But he started his own YouTube, and he wanted somebody who had some experience utilizing social media and social media marketing. I had done that for the company as kind of like just an extra hat to wear, so to speak. Yeah. And he was like, you know what, man, can you come in and kind of help me? I have a web designer, I have a videographer, and I have this channel that's all me doing cocktails myself. And I just need some help to kind of like get this idea together. And I was like, sure, I got nothing but time. So I went there, started working with him a little bit, working on, all of his marketing, all of the back end stuff, getting the web designer to talk to the videographer, to talk to him, and kind of like be the business manager, so to speak, for the channel. And then as I was watching how everything was working, I was like, well, I use computers all the time. I've never owned a digital camera, but that seems pretty straightforward. I just have to learn how it works. Outside of
Mhm.
turning it on, I don't have any microphones. I don't have any I don't have any equipment, but it seems pretty straightforward. Lighting, this, that, or the other thing. So I was like, I wonder if somebody's done this for cigars. Was like the
Mhm.
first thing that came to my mind. Of course, people had. There
Yeah.
are plenty of channels. I wasn't watching anybody at the time, so to speak. Like for me, YouTube is all about um, entertainment. It
Yep.
wasn't about knowledge. And his channel and the idea of his channel was where he was really educating me that people go to YouTube to learn just as much to get entertained.
Mhm.
And I was like, that's a very interesting perspective. I didn't think about it in terms of that, but I do now tremendously that people look up videos and look to gain knowledge through YouTube almost more so than any other platform outside of like the Google search bar, which is owned by,
Mhm.
which is the same owners of
Yeah.
YouTube.
Same owners. Yep.
So makes total sense, right? That it would be integrated in that way and that people would find that connection. So he was creating an educational platform for cocktails and for spirits. And as I watched him do it, he was like, do you want to help and actually come on and do a cocktail? So I did a cocktail and he was like, all right, do you want to come on and do like the Monday show or the Tuesday show and maybe make this a monthly or a weekly thing until we all get back to work and we start doing our thing again? And I was like, well, I'd like to do something that incorporates cigars because honestly, I'm more interested in talking about cigars than I am cocktails because you already have a channel and you're already talking about cigars or you're
Mhm.
already talking about cocktails. And like maybe if I talk about cigars or do a pairing thing, it'll be something different that we can integrate. So I started doing all the research on it. And I was like, nobody's doing a cocktail and cigar channel. Why
Mhm.
don't I do that? And then I'm like, oh, that's why nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it because tobacco related content on YouTube
Doesn't get
disables
doesn't
monetization.
exactly.
So people aren't making money. That's
Yep.
the problem. Nobody wants to do it because nobody's making money on it. And I was like, all right, look, I go back to him. I'm like, here's my idea. I'm going to make a cigar and spirits pairing channel, but I'm going to make it all about the cigar and like barely anything about the spirit except for just the background information as to why I'm doing it and maybe like a couple of little blurbs on the brand. And I'm going to get paid nothing.
Yep.
And he's like, if that's what you want to do, man, like, okay. And I was like, I can't even have it associated with your channel. It has to be a completely separate entity. And
Mhm.
he's like, okay, you could use the camera, the videographer, whatever you want to use. And I'm like, okay, I can do that for free because I'm making no money on this. He's like, yeah, 100%. Just go ahead and use. I'm already paying him. Like, you can use them however long you want. So like the first like 12, 15 videos that you see on Master Your Ash are his living room, same setting as Master Your Glass, same videographer, same people, doing
Yeah.
all the edits and stuff like that. It wasn't me because I was teaching myself how to
Yeah.
use
How to do
Final
it.
Cut,
Yep.
how to operate a camera, buying a camera, setting up what would then become the set in my backyard of
Yep.
Master Your Ash,
Mhm.
right? Like basically the only thing that I had was the table, the boxes, and that was it.
Mhm.
Everything else was secondary from things that I picked up from them. And the reason why it was a completely different channel and it didn't start on the Master Your Glass channel is because he was getting ready to hit monetization levels.
Yep.
And I told him that YouTube would shut off his monetization. So I had to
Yeah.
make a completely separate channel and start from
Yep.
scratch.
You know, I feel like it takes off so much pressure when money's not involved
Yeah, it does.
because you're not worried about money. You're doing it for the love.
100%. 100%. And like, 750 between the shorts, the lives, the reviews, 750 episodes later of what, or videos later that have been uploaded to YouTube since February of 2021
Yep.
or whatever it's been. I don't I don't get tired of it at all. I
No,
still cuz
you love
like I could I could talk about cigars for the rest of my life every single day,
it
8
and not
hours a
about money at
day.
all.
It was never about it. It was always like, yeah, that'd be cool. It would
Yeah.
be really cool if I got free cigars, which, ended up working out. Um
Mhm.
but you know, like it was never predicated upon that. It was always like, and now I look back at it a different way. I look back at it now as like, I wish that I always did this, because now if I want to know how I feel about a cigar, I just go
Yeah.
search. That's review. All right, what did I say about this? Did I say this sucked? Was this good? Like,
Mhm.
what did I? Oh yeah, that's right. 2 years ago, that cigar was like that. Oh okay. Because I
Mhm.
used to. I was part of the age where you had a journal, a cigar journal. I still have
Yep.
it.
Yep.
You know, and like you would write down all the notes. You would tape the band or glue the band to it. What year you smoked it? I was a part of that era. So like, you know, when the apps came out on the phone, we had, you know, some really rinky dink cigar journals that, you know, are probably much better now. But it was always about trying to recall how much you appreciated or didn't appreciate your experience. And that was the journey. And going back to your original question about what inspired me, which I'm sorry that I did not answer it in
No, you're
full,
fine.
but there was really nothing that inspired me when I started with the idea. When I started to do the market research to see who would be like me, and I noticed that there were reviewers, a lot of them had scoring systems. A lot of them taught me things like Obsession and Tiny Tim and Zeal
So,
and
all right. I'm gonna get in so much trouble. But I had a couple of drinks. I don't care.
okay,
So,
go for it.
uh, now I need you to define one thing for me. What is a yard guard cigar?
A
That's like
yard guard
it's
is
like
something that you don't have to pay attention to when you're mowing the lawn in the yard.
so like. But as far as price point, it's like what, like a $6, $7 cigar, right?
I mean, typically it would be something that is a little bit more, you know, frugal and cheap.
Like, so Brian Glenn had the nerve. I called his name out. Fuck. Well, fuck it. He had the nerve. He called the SP a yard guard,
That's a
and
strong statement. That's a strong statement.
so I get a lot more upset than Sanj does. Sanj is very
Sure,
passive, but I take
sure.
it. But to me, when somebody insults the brand, I get so upset.
Sure.
You know, and and I'm just like this motherfucker.
See, the beauty of me is that being that I haven't had to have an allegiance to anybody,
Huh?
I've always felt free to talk about everybody how I felt about them.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about Brian is that although a lot of people feel as though that he's the granddaddy of cigar reviews,
Yeah.
being that I didn't watch cigar reviews on YouTube
Yeah.
until I
Yeah.
started doing them,
Mm-hmm.
my favorite cigar reviewer is not Brian Glenn.
Yeah.
And we have a much better, more straightforward king of cigar reviews right now in Cigar Hound Dog that is one of my favorite
Exactly.
cigar reviewers that
Exactly. Exactly.
that to
Yep.
me speaks better about flavors,
Yep.
that discerns flavors far better than a Brian Glenn.
Yeah.
And being that, and I kind of got into it in our last live. DJ posted the short on it where I was talking about the old heads in YouTube that,
Yep.
you know, didn't need to, but also didn't feel the need to welcome the younger
Yep.
generation with open arms like
Yep.
we do.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that we're old heads or that we've been doing it long enough to even consider ourselves that, but imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And there are a lot of people that have imitated certain styles, right? Whether it be, and I'm probably not the first person to do an overhead cam shot with my
Yeah.
fingers or have my branded cigar stand, or like DJ does the voiceovers and Cigar Hound Dog does certain little
Yeah.
nuance things and has his own grading system. And like some of those things are great. Of course, you should
Mm-hmm.
find a way to incorporate those in your videos, right? I don't care if somebody does something
Yeah.
similar. I don't care if somebody comes out tomorrow and they start doing spirit pairings. And then somebody's going to tell them, oh, you're imitating Michael over at Master Your Ash. And who are you? You're not this guy who's been working in the liquor industry and is a master accredited mixologist. No, 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 no. If somebody feels passionate about their bourbons and their
Mm-hmm.
spirits and they want to do a pairing, by all means do it. You know,
Yeah.
like give your take on it, because you might have a completely different perspective and taste something different and be able to add some sort of element to it. I didn't want the whole entire master your ash thing to come off as like he's achieved a master level in mixology, so he's the only one qualified. I wanted it to lend credibility to what I was espousing on the channel and what I was talking about. Like, he's saying this because of the fact that he's experienced these different things and he can speak to it maybe a little bit easier than some of the people that don't feel confident to speak to it. Because like, for me to come out and say like your Scotch is probably not the best pairing, nor is your heavy cab, like you could do better with an off dry Riesling and maybe a rum or a cognac. For me to say why and be able to back it up a little bit of an easier way than like somebody who just really loves their Scotch whiskey to come out and say like, oh, this is the best pairing, you know, kind of deal.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, not like now I was gonna say, like, you know, my whole reasoning behind this channel is for people to learn about who is Michael behind not just Master, but who is Michael as the person, and not get the same and not get that same cookie cutter interview that other people are getting. You know, like when I have a cigar, especially like a cigar brand on, like I'll go through it and watch a few of the interviews, and I'll go, okay, how do I flip this to make this more personable? You know, how do I get them to feel comfortable enough to open up and them not to go into damn, you know, autopilot.
Right.
Like the hardest interview, honestly, the hardest interview that I've ever did, and this is when me and I don't know if you know Sin Poppy Rick.
I do not.
No, so me and my boy Rick, we had a podcast channel, and we had Pedro on. So the hardest part about getting paid is getting him out of Drew Estate mode.
Sure. Pedro is very much the face of the company and the brand, and
exactly
he has to.
Yeah. So the hardest part was, how do I get him out of Pedro from Drew Estate, and who is Pedro Gomez, the person that grew up in Nicaragua, the person that
swept the floor at the factory, man. Like, like went from the bottom up to Drew Estate.
So like
100%.
like who is that person outside of Drew Estate? You know, I don't like like we know who you are when it comes to Drew Estate. We want to know who you are. Like, what books do you read? Like, what books do you read? What, like, how was it when you first came over here? You know, because of course he said we can't speak very much English. It's like, how was it? Like, you had to go of all places, you went to Idaho. Like, it's not like nobody over there speaks Spanish.
Right.
So
at least probably not when he was going.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where it's like, how did you adjust? How's your relationship with your family? You know, or your boys you grew up with? Like, what's one of your favorite stories of you growing up and you and your homeboy hanging out? You know, like that kind of stuff. You know, like like how, like those kind of things to me are the stuff that I want to learn, because everybody has those stories. Like, I can tell a story right now about me and my best friends. Like, my boy got into a fight because of a girl. So we got the whole roll call. And back then I was the only one that didn't have a cell phone. So my boy knocked on the class that I was in high school. He goes, "Oh, yo, Brent," he goes, "Oh, but he got into a fight.
We're rolling." We're rolling.
Yeah. He's like, yo, we rolling. I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, yo, we out. So we all go to Iona College. We get to Iona College. It's like 30 people there. Here's the thing. We all know each other. So it went from, yo, we about to pop off right now, to, yo, no, that's my guy, that's my man. I'm not gonna fight him.
Everybody's gonna start drinking and hanging.
Yeah. So everybody sitting there chat, and one guy goes, nah, we gotta thump, we gotta fight. So he goes up and he fights one dude, and next thing you know, the cops show up. We got 60 kids running. Guess who got caught? Just me and my 4 friends. So we're all there. They're laughing. He's like, "Oh, you guys play football?" I'm like, "Yeah, this and that." We're saying whatever we got to say to get out of the situation. One of my boys is like, "Nah, I don't talk to cops, blah, 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 acting tough. The cops put the cuffs on him. And we see his eyes start to water. And he goes up, and the cop goes back. Comes back, he goes, you know your boy crying in the car, right? We start dying, we start crying, hysterically laughing. He goes, why y'all laughing? We go, he was acting all tough. The second he got to that cop car, he starts crying. He starts dying laughing. All of our high school years of being in New Rochelle, every time we seen those cops, we were like this. Like, we will always speak to the cops, talk to them. You know, they would come up and fuck with us and flash the lights on us. Like, oh, where you guys going? Nowhere. All right, well, what are you guys up to? How's school going? You know, it's stuff like that. It's like stories like that where, you know, even now, like, it's 8 of us. It's like that. I grew up with that. We're like super close, and we're all in the group text. And every now and again, that story will come up. Yo, you remember what such and such cried in the car? Mm. You go, why you got to bring it up for? You know, like it's crazy.
No, I think that it's super important. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy the lives so much, because the fact that people have been able to see a lot more of others ever since podcasts became a thing. You know, because like, it's hard once again when you're trying to grab somebody's attention on social media, because it has to be a certain length. Like, going back to who inspires you and stuff like that. Cigar Hound Dog and I met each other on YouTube, along with DJ and EKB, you know, the original cast and crew of the New Wave. And part of that is what ended up happening was, I'm doing market research. I'm trying to figure out who am I going to be alike? Who's going to be like me? And I see nobody. I see nobody that doesn't speak like, I mean, Brian Glenn is dry toast a lot of times, right? And I'm not that. I'm raised by New Jersey people. Okay.
Exactly.
Brian Glenn wouldn't be able to walk in front of me. There's no fucking way. Like, get out of the way. I got places to be. It's not because I'm an asshole. It's just because we move differently. Even Matt, even Cigar Hound Dog, who's a buddy of mine. Matt is a very chill dude. You know, like he's not intense.
Matt is so Cali.
Yeah, he's very Cali.
He's 150% Cali. Like, it's crazy. Like,
he is, bruh.
Yeah, like EKB. Well, you know, like Kalen is my dog. That's my dude. And and the funny thing is that we only spoke like but no matter what, like we'll DM each other, but we connect on a lot of stuff as far as music, as far as, you know. He grew up down south. My stepfather is from down south, so we connect when it comes to a lot of food, a lot of old school sayings that we would hear, you know. So
no, 100%. It's just, you know, you meet people and you just know, like, this is my crew.
Exactly.
And when I met Cigar Hound Dog, I think that he reached out to me originally and started commenting on the videos and stuff. We both had an audience of less than 100 people.
Yeah.
You know, February, March 2021. But Matt had this he had this drive and this ability to continually put out content. It wasn't about it being studio quality. You know, he had his own setup in his backyard, very minimalist kind of effort, but it was consistent, and his message was always very much like, you know, well thought out, well planned out, flavor notes. You mic went out. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, hear you perfectly.
All right. So like he was able to deliver the flavor notes. He was able to condense the videos down to like 7 minutes of review, stay on topic, stay on time. He's like an efficient quarterback when it comes to doing a cigar review. Like, everything about it, the consistency. And we were doing them very similarly, where we were talking about the first third, second third, and final third. But being that my entry to YouTube was relying on an editor and relying on a videographer to put things together, I didn't have nearly the consistency. So I would have 8 videos up for a month, and he would have one every 3 days, one every 4 days, one every 2 days eventually.
Yeah.
And I was starting to see like this building, 300 subs to like my 200
Yeah.
or 500 to my 250, 200. And I was noticing that like he was capable of growing and reaching a larger audience than I was, because it's already hard to reach an audience on YouTube. It's not that big as far as the cigar community is. I feel as though most of the people looking on YouTube for cigar content are kind of at the tip of the spear when it comes to
Yep.
education anyway. You know,
Exactly.
because as somebody who smoked cigars for 20 years and grew up on YouTube during the inception of YouTube, I wasn't even going on there for cigar information.
Yep.
You know, I watched Cigar Vixen videos or some
Yeah.
obsession videos, definitely for two different reasons, but most certainly not because of the fact that I wanted to be informed on cigars.
Exactly.
Like, I was just watching them for the entertainment value. I didn't care what they felt about it. I didn't care what they thought about the cigar. I was just there because like Vixen was a chick that smoked cigars that was pretty.
Exactly.
And we all, you know, I think feel some sort of way about that. Like, that's cool as hell that she's educated, she can speak eloquently, but also that she's very pretty and smokes cigars. You know, like, we all like that. We appreciate
exactly.
that. With Obsession, it was like, this was a guy had been in the game for so long, knew all of these different cigar brands, and would actually take a stand, regardless of if you liked it or not, as far as what he felt about a cigar. It was dry. It was very long, but at least you could get an opinion, and he wasn't afraid of offending at least the people that may or may not have sponsored him, you know, to do so. So there was that. And then kind of like right around when we started to both receive more views, DJ over at Pick Jimmy, he had put out the cigar channels to watch. And I remember Matt was the first person to DM me that day. And he was like, dude, we made this list and this guy and so on. And so I didn't know who DJ was. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh shit, you know, that's really dope. And then I had seen as a recommendation some of EKB's videos, and I watched it and I was like, dude, this guy, like, he's like one of the guys that like I went to college with, one of the guys that I went to high school with, one of the guys that was at my party house. Like, he was very much like of the same ilk of the people that I grew up around in Vegas. And I really like that, you know, we kind of vibed on certain things, very similar palettes in a lot of ways. He went about the way that he told stories about cigars, the way that he would tell regular stories, and the way that he would review a cigar and add in video clips and add in movie references and song references that I particularly could understand. And I thought that was the coolest thing. So part of that, like last year for the Halloween release of Tatuaje Monster, which is always a big deal for me because I had been collecting them since the very beginning. So it's something that I always like to go above and beyond in my reviews for. Part of like me putting movie clips into that video is directly because of the influence of EKB doing it and adding that entertainment value, adding what Keelan brings to it was that, you know, and like me being like, you know, this is something that, you know, my fellow YouTuber does that I want to do. And even like the whole entire premise of it, because I had a face from the original release. I still have some. So I wanted to do it as a Grindhouse review where you got the old original release as a review, present day, and the new release, put them together, 2 reviews in one, Tarantino Grindhouse with a little mini edit in the beginning and in the middle.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's fucking,
so like
that's fucking awesome.
It'll never be a cigar video that gets thousands of views. Like it probably isn't even at 1,000 right now. It's like in the 700-800s, but that's still pretty good for a cigar review. And like for me, it's like a homage to what EKB was doing, because he had already kind of talked to us and told us that he was going to take a step back from the review side anyway.
the thing, and the one thing is the community, the way it is now, is that everybody is so willing to come together now. It's like
Yeah,
maybe the old heads aren't like like
different
Tim.
subject.
Yeah, like Tim's a good dude, man. I like Tim. I had him one time on my old podcast. So Tim is cool people. Tony, I love Tony. So I love Tony like a brother. You
Sure.
know, like I love Tony. I had Jessica and I had Jessica and why can't I think of fucking Cigar Prop's name?
Oh, Kevin.
Kevin, yeah. I've had them on separately. Like Jess is my girl. Jess is cool. Jess is cool because she's a Jersey girl.
Yeah, 100% she is.
So like so we was just chopping. So she came
And
on
like
and
the thing is too, not to cut you off, I
go
apologize.
for it. No, you're
But
fine.
I actually enjoyed Kevin's old content when he
Yeah,
was just kind of like the Bob the Builder of the
yeah,
cigar world. Like I
yep.
really because I started to watch everybody after I started to do my channel,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like even some of Lee-Mac's old stuff, like before he started to be so negative
Controversial.
and
My
controversial and just do it for the clicks, really.
my like I would like to meet him just to ask him why.
Yeah,
Just like
100%.
why? Like why?
You want to know
What's
what
the
it
point?
is? I made this reference. I said, you remember when Biggie said, y'all got fat while we starved, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
It's about the lack of the money. I think, it's about the fact that it's not as easy to monetize now, and
yeah,
some of the people that had it back in the day when you could,
yeah. You
you
know what?
know, they feel a certain type of way about it.
Yeah. Money is the root of all evil.
It's the answer to 99 out of 100 questions, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
So
It really is.
until somebody corrects me, that's always going to be the answer
Yeah.
to why people do what they do sometimes.
And
That's
like,
purely it.
you know, it's a thing of like you can't get monetized no more on YouTube. So you have to go to Rumble now. But most people don't know how to use Rumble. And the
The thing
algorithm on
the
and the
thing
algorithm
is
on
that you
Rumble's
could still get monetized on YouTube. The problem is that the percentage that you're earning is so much smaller than what it was.
yeah.
When people could run full scale ads, when people could add in links to brands that they were
Yeah.
pushing,
Yep.
when people could write .coms,
Yep.
and get paid by those sites to have them attached to their site
Yeah.
and so on and so forth, the little things that have been taken away, people were making money, and they
Yep.
weren't just making the $100 a month, $200 a
Yep.
month for their
They were
videos. They were making a mortgage payment, they were making a car
exactly.
payment, and that is substantial to all of us, right? Like that matters when you're putting in your time and your energy into making something. You feel as though that you've earned that, and rightfully so. I wish personally that everybody could be monetized on the content that
Mm.
they make, because somebody like Cigar Hound Dog could make this a legitimate full-time job, and we would all benefit from that. There would be
Mm-hmm.
the king of cigar reviews right now, being able to do it full time
Yeah.
for everybody. That would be dope
Exactly.
as hell. That would be
Exactly.
really sick. But it's
Yeah.
not the way that Brian Glenn was.
Yeah. Yeah. He was making a killing doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if he was just making six figures a year, let's say, at least he gets to live a comfortable life and gets to do it full time for us, the audience. That's cool. Your passion should be that. I thoroughly believe that. It should be that. You should be able to make a comfortable living off of something that you're passionate doing. It sucks
Exactly.
when you can't,
Yep.
or when some overarching corporation that's trying to fit some sort of political bias tells
Mm-hmm.
you that your freedom of speech is different and doesn't matter. And
Exactly.
you just freely wanting to do something like talk about how much you like cigars isn't enough
Yeah. So
to
J-
generate revenue.
James had a question here. You know, you'll be much better at than me than answering this question. You know.
I mean, James, like we stream our lives on Facebook. I am a member of a couple of groups that have not told me that they're upset with me sharing my reviews to the groups. I know that Cigar Hound Dog has done meetups with a couple of the Reddit groups, and we're working on the back end to try to incorporate and integrate our stuff into some of the Reddit platforms and stuff. Like, here's the thing. Anywhere where somebody wants me to be able to post and share my reviews, I'm all about it. I'm available on Rumble, Spotify, BitChute, YouTube, Odyssey, like any platform that will allow me to exist. I will always be willing to participate in that platform. Some of them are a little bit harder to integrate than others, right? Like Rumble used to do this thing where it would automatically sync all your videos from YouTube. The problem was it would also sync all of your tags to those videos from YouTube, and the tags were underneath a different system. Like you would use a hashtag to make a tag on YouTube. Well, on Rumble, they eliminated the hashtag tag. They just had tags, and then you would write it with a comma to separate it. So your video wouldn't get pushed on Rumble at all, if that makes any sense. So it was like, yeah, it would automatically sync, but if you didn't go in on the back end for every single video and put your tags in, it wouldn't catch in the algorithm. And then with Spotify, there wasn't an automatic way for me to upload all my videos, which is why most of the videos that are on there are like a year old, because I just haven't updated all my videos. So it's like, yeah, Google is about making Google money. So it's just like, I'll always exist wherever they'll allow me to exist. And I appreciate all the platforms that are still open to hosting cigar content. But it's very obvious that, you know, the people that are streaming, the red pill stuff and
the
Andrew Tate stuff, like all of that is a bigger audience, and all of that makes Google and YouTube way more money. So that's the type of stuff that's pushing. Like I think that I've logged into all of my different YouTubes. I have 3, like my personal channel that I watch videos on, my Master Your Ash, and then the infamous Smoke Show that I'm one of the managers of, right? Because that's our group stuff. But I think that I've logged into all 3, and I think that I've gotten the same Jeffrey Epstein documentary by the same person recommended in all 3, because like Ghislaine and Jeffrey and like all their like perversions and stuff like that, the crazy documentaries these people have put together are just like, it's wild shit to watch. So it's like everybody's watching this crazy stuff, and like that's what gets recommended over cigar reviews half the time. I think my mindset is I'm already doing some kind of review. We're gonna have a good time. Why not record it and see? Yeah, I mean, that was kind of it, right? I was saying like I'm already gonna do this anyway. I'm already going to sit down and enjoy a cigar. Why not film it, have it as a journal entry, so to speak, an online journal? And also, I thought about it like this. It would be really cool if 100 years from now, YouTube College is the university that the majority of people use, and like Google Scholar and stuff like that. And they go, hey, there was this dude that existed a long time ago. Maybe he has a kid, maybe he doesn't have any kids, whatever. This guy named Michael, Master Your Ash, and he was talking about cigar and spirit pairings before they became a standard, and they decided to play one of my videos.
It's funny. I always like people ask me how did I come up with the name Big Guilty, and actually stole the name from my son. Because my son is named after me, and so on PlayStation.
You're like the you're the third innocent, and he's the fourth.
No, he's the third. I'm the second. He's the third. Yeah.
Okay.
So So on PlayStation, he was calling himself Big Guilty on PlayStation.
Okay.
So I went up and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm taking it. I like the sound. I'm gonna take that. And he goes, oh, Dad, you stole my name. And I was like, listen, like, at the end of the day, it you should think of it as an homage to you. as every
Yeah.
time you see a Big Guilty Cigar Podcast, think that your dad is thinking of you.
Yeah. No, that's
You know,
beautiful. That's
so that
beautiful. 100%. I
you
mean,
know,
that's also why this is Master Your Ash and not Master, and after Master Your Glass, because I never would have had the reasoning and the resources to even start the channel. The belief in myself that it was something that I should do if it wasn't for Livio and Master Your Glass to tell me that I
yeah.
could.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the thing, because I didn't see anybody like me doing it. And I thought to myself, it would kind of be cool, even though I'm not a young dude, to be part of the younger movement of cigar people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like even if you do have people that have channels, they're typically much older than all of us,
Yep.
even us, right? So it's like, who's going to be the voice that those people need to demystify some of the stuff, like, oh, you can't drink anything but water the first time that you smoke a cigar, otherwise no, I'm just playing. But
Yeah.
it's like, there are a lot of like, there's a lot of like misinformation, a lot of faux pas about cigars too. Like people are always hung up on humidity, big time. And one thing that I do agree with Sanj on is that like you don't have to be as like particular. You can
As
let things kind of exist in their own world. I have to be a little bit more concerning because I live in a city that has
oh yeah,
18% or 18
yeah, yeah,
RH, whereas
yeah.
Sanj in his basement has got about, 70, 60 most of the year, right?
Nah, well, in the basement it's around like even in the summer it's around like maybe 40, 50 in the summer.
Yeah. So between that and all the cigars that are in there giving off their own vibe, like he's got about 60.
Hey, Peter, you're old as shit, Peter. All right, just know that.
Is Peter older than me? Pete, are you older than me?
Yeah, like
Because
it's
he doesn't look old.
nah, Pete, no. Well, Pete, well, he still play hockey. He still play hockey, man. He's
Yeah.
still, listen, he's still banging around, man, getting it in, man. And that right there
He
keeps
looks
you young.
like,
'Cause you got,
yeah, 39. I'll be
yeah,
38 in July.
yes,
Yes,
yeah.
you're right
He's
there.
saying, yeah, he's same age as
Pete
me.
still looks like he wrestles. He looks like he plays rugby and wrestles.
Well, you know, I play rugby, so
Yeah, you're a rugby guy.
yeah,
I know that. I listened.
yeah,
I listened a little bit to you and Hound Dog. That's how I knew about the names, about Innocent,
yeah,
how the name came to be. I listened to a little
yeah,
bit about the Hound Dog one because, like, it was really tough. I was trying to listen to EKB's last live stream
yeah,
after leaving work, and then I was listening to yours with Hound Dog just because I like to kind of get myself prepared for,
yeah.
what I'm jumping into.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, it's like, no, there you go, James. Like rumors and misinformation run amok. I mean, it's in the liquor industry too. It's the same.
yeah.
They mirror each other so much. The only difference is that the amount of marketing to like keep the misinformation up in the liquor industry is just that much greater. So that's why you have people
You
that'll
know,
spend $6,000 on a bottle of Pappy
which is stupid.
that cost like $75.
So you want to know something funny at my hotel as amenities? We were gonna start giving guests like rare, like allocated bottles, but like just like little samples of allocated bottles, and and we were gonna do like Pappy 21 and stuff like that. I'm like those aren't worth it, you know. Like
Mhm.
I had to go talk to my boss out of it because he was like gun ho on like getting like old like rare, and I'm like what number one, people aren't going to cherish it the way that they should.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where I don't know if it's a matter of like, because you really can't. Like, I remember the first time that I had Hennessy Parody. I remember the first time that I had Hennessy Richard. And although I probably couldn't appreciate those two the first time that I had them, I also remember the last times that I had them. And I think that it kind of goes like when you asked me about those $5,000, $10,000 bottles and what it's like to sip them, I I know that they're different I could taste that they were different, that they were
Mhm.
like elevated to that extra level, but the difference is not a $10,000 difference.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like, even me, I know that that $10,000 bottle of Richard or that $5,000 or $3,000 bottle of Parody. I think honestly, Parody might be a little bit cheaper than Louis Trez, um, but it's not that significant of a difference over a Hennessy XO, over sometimes a VSOP, to where you're like, yeah, that's worthy of spending it to buy a whole entire bottle. It's more so about what the goal is. A lot of people are looking to say that they have a bottle of Richard or a bottle of Paradis, and that's really it. Just like they're looking to say that they have a bottle of Pappy. It was one of the things. It's going to come out in the podcast that I did with the blending room with JR Cigars. But one of the things that I said, because we were talking about the difference now with social media being an aspect of it, and I said, what pissed me off the most when I started the channel was I would watch some of these Instagram influencers that had like 70,000 followers, and they would have the bottle of Pappy 23 and the bottle and the Cohiba Bahikis, and you would just see them like every 3 months, like post the same photo of the cigar that they weren't going to smoke and the bottle that they never opened, or the bottle that they opened once every 6 months, take that photo, and the cigar that they smoked once every
Mhm.
6 months. And it was like, that was it. There was no substance to it. But yet, that was the shit that would get the most likes. So that's why they did it. And I'm like, no, when I do it, when I'm ready, I'm going to light the Cohiba Bahiki. I'm going to burn
Yeah.
that thing all the way down and do a review on it. When I do the Pappy flight, I'm going to have all three bottles and I'm going to pair them all. And I'm going to let everybody know that this is a great, like, $80 whiskey, but it's
So
terrible $2,000 whiskey.
I won from Eric. I won a um a Davidoff Auto, and I'm saving that cigar for my son's graduation because that's my last day of paying child support
Mm-hmm.
for him. So I'm saving that cigar because it's gonna be a double victory. It's gonna be the fact that he graduated high school, and I don't and that money don't come out of my check every week. Even though he's still gonna ask, and even though he still asks me for money now because he has a girlfriend now, so he's like, "Oh, hey dad, can you send me $75? Why?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to the movies. All right, here." But it'll be just that victory of, all right, like that was a successful, like my son graduated high school, and then when the next one graduates, I'm like, hey son, can I get a cigar to smoke for my son's graduation? And I'm pretty sure sons go to the basement and say, take whatever you want.
Yeah, for sure. Of course.
So, but like to me, like Sanj gave me a box of Bahikis,
Mm-hmm.
Bahiki 52. So I only smoked one of them. The rest of them, I have no plan on smoking anytime soon.
Sure.
And it's very interesting because, you know, I go to Albert, you know, uh,
That's funny.
you know, it's one of those things where, you know, like, damn, I lost my train of thought now. Thanks, Albert. But it's one of those things where, well, with
You're
the
talking about the
Bahiki,
Bahikis
yeah,
and leaving the rest. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like it's one of those things where, like, anything that Sanj gives me as a gift, like I don't smoke them. I don't smoke it,
Right.
especially if it's something that he's like, here, take this, and I take it home. If I take it home, it's getting put away. It's getting put in the winador that I turn into a humidor. It's going in there, and those cigars are rarely touched. Everything else I smoke,
Sure.
but what goes in there is like special occasions. Once in a blue, I smoke those. It's one of those things where, because when somebody gives you something, it's more cherishable.
I agree.
Like Matt hit me up for the bomb,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave me so much rare stuff and I've maybe smoked two or three of those cigars. The rest of them are put away because like it's some sentimental value to it because
Sure.
I cherish things. That's just the way I am.
Yeah, I've always believed that it's important to cherish things, but I also am of the mindset that like if it's given to you to enjoy and you can't like just fabricate those things like your child
True.
graduating high school, right? Like you
True.
can't just make those up. They have to come at a certain time, or like even
Yeah.
having a child, right?
Yeah.
You are only in control of so much. You can try as hard as you may, but
Yeah.
it may not happen.
It's
So it's important to that while time is limited, and I think that we had a great reminder of that this week, although it was a shitty reminder as much as it's good a reminder, right? As opposed to great. That you don't know when, right? So like it's important, and that was another reason why, because like I think that James said it, like we put things on a pedestal, and sometimes it's not necessarily about how good subjectively something is, but about who we enjoy it with. And
true.
I think that that's another reason why I appreciate the live stream so much, because like I get the opportunity to smoke with Matt, DJ, Keelan almost every other week.
Yeah.
And I get the opportunity, even if I wasn't participating in the live streams, but to watch them. Like when Keelan was smoking yesterday, I wanted to smoke a cigar so damn bad. I was sitting at my table, right? And I'm listening to him talk to everybody in the chat, and I'm kind of interacting from time to time. And I'm writing this paper that I have to submit for my class. And I'm writing this paper down, and I'm going through. I'm like, fuck, I just want to smoke a cigar so bad. Yeah. Like I just want to hop on there. I just want to, even if I wasn't hopping on there, even if I was just chilling in the backyard, dogs throwing the ball, whatever. I just want him in the background talking to everybody. Maybe I chime in a little bit, and I'm just in the zone. Like that's all I want to do, because that experience is just as good sometimes as your best cigar can be. Like
True.
I went to go meet a business colleague, the guy who actually runs the Global Spirit Awards that I do every year, last weekend. And I brought out an Amazon Basin that DJ had sent me, and it was my last one. And I'm like, man, I love this cigar so much. This is going to taste so good. And like the cigar was great. Company made it even better, and it seems like every single time that I do bring out that cigar, it's typically because I'm smoking with somebody that I enjoy smoking with. And one of the things I guess that's great too about the channel is that whenever I do want to interact with somebody, now, even if I'm by myself, I could go live and talk to people, and like that's a cool thing about having the actual channels themselves, whether it be a podcast, whether it be a review channel, pairing, whatever.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Now I'm looking at my humidors that I have here, and I'm like, all right, you know what? Like you convinced me. So tomorrow I'm gonna start cracking those guys open.
You should.
And fucking lighting those guys up.
Yeah, man, life is way too short, dude. And that's why that was another thing that pissed me off about the whole entire, during the pandemic, everybody just like trying to one up each other with what cigars they had or what bottles of booze that they had. I thought that was so obnoxious. And I get it. I understand why we as a culture just like we're always like trying to keep up with the Joneses and showing it off, right? But it's like that. Those cigars are made to be smoked, to be enjoyed. Like the Bahiki is a regular production release. This is the wildest thing to me. We act as if those cigars aren't being made.
Like, what?
It's so silly to me the way that people just like they have this mindset that like, oh my god, it's $350. It's never going to exist again ever. Like, no, bro.
Hey, Peter, when you come on the podcast, I'll smoke the dragon. All right. When you come on the podcast, I'll smoke the Placencia dragon. When you come on the podcast. And James had a question. He said, what do you guys feel like he should celebrate with? And my favorite Aurora is probably the CLE Select. And
I mean, I haven't smoked enough CLEs to know. Like, I'm far more comfortable talking about Tat, Placencia, and Warped. I think that for a 30th birthday plus a 10th anniversary, that's a pretty big deal.
you have
I
to go
would say that.
Placencia, probably, right?
I mean, I am a big fan of the Almafuerte, especially in the Sixto. I think that a 6x60 is a big enough smoke to where you can enjoy it. I guess, like, really just depends on how much time you want to devote to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the warped stuff, I love the Chinchale. I've always been a big proponent of that, even though Pete hates it. I also really like the El Oso Blanco. That's a really good
it's
cigar.
one that I smoked from Warp that was really I really enjoyed it. It's in a white band and it's around $18 MSRP.
White band.
White band from Warped. Because it wasn't as peppery as your normal Warp cigar.
Somebody in the chat will probably get it before I do.
Yeah.
Oh, Cigar Hound Dog went out and got some pho. Look at this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I mean, I do like the El Oso Blanco. I'm trying to think. What the hell is the Warped with the white label?
My only issue with Warped is everything is a pepper bomb Warped. That's my only kind of.
I mean, there is a considerable amount because, and I know that Cigar Hound Dog mentioned it in his live with you, was that, they're all done at Aganorsa's, with the exception of the Chinchale. That cigar is done at Willie's factory, El Titon de Bronze.
Oh my! Let me tell you, that is one cigar factory that I like. I went to Miami and I met Sandy, and man, like, their cigars are fire. I like their cigars a lot.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm looking it up now.
I know that they have other ones too that aren't that are also made at El Titon de Bronze, but I believe that the Chinchale is the one that sticks out to me the most. The Grand Reserve, is that the white label that you're referring to?
No, it's hold on. Come on now.
El Oso Blanco's white. I always thought that it was like silver or blue or Nicotina. Carpenter said in the chat. Nicotina, a lot of people talk about. Yeah, the Grand Reserve in 1988 is a white band. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oxtail Fuzz the shit, bro.
It might be that one. Man, this is. Cause I'm on Neptune's right now, and it's not the Le Grand, because that's green and white, or La Gloria or whatever. You know what? What am I doing? I can just go to the fucking Rob site and see, because we have it right in the store.
Yeah, there you go. The Aroa Dark. Snag some black honey.
You know what? The black
honey. The new releases didn't really live up to the old releases. In my opinion.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the black honey.
I do think that, like, there could, maybe if they age for a year or two, maybe they might come back. But I would definitely I would smoke one, see what you think, and then if you don't really enjoy the results, let those sit. Florida Val, another kind of white band. Yeah. But yeah, I'd probably go Plasencia Almafuerte.
Yeah.
Warped. Warped has a couple, like the El Oso Blanco, I think is still probably the most elevated experience. The Chinchale is just really good as like a daily or a more budget driver for the brand to me. Yeah, Plasencia Reserve Original. It's a good one.
Don Ronaldo.
Oh yeah, Don Ronaldo. Damn, totally missed out on that one. That one's an elevated one too.
Yeah.
That's a good
that
smoke.
one was really, really good. I really enjoyed that one. I actually enjoyed that one, and I enjoyed the Grand Reserve in 1988.
The Don Ronaldo is also made at El Tizon de Bronze.
Oh, explains a lot. Explained a lot.
The La Colmena, yeah, La Colmena is good too, man. That's a good smoke.
Yeah,
that was much better than the Black Honey.
You know what? The black the Black Honey to me there was no change in it.
Oh, Hound Dog says that he has.
Oh, hey, Matt. You know what? Matt? Like, he's like, you got to you understand something. Like with him and his Chiefs, they like to pinky up.
He's gonna
the crop.
He's gonna rewatch the missing part of this podcast when I was giving him all the props and be like, "Oh man."
Yeah, exactly.
I was trying to big you up earlier, Matt, but we'll see.
But at the shop it's only $18 at the shop, so.
Yeah, it's the New Jersey tax. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it's know what to think. Well, yeah, mistake. He sells everything at MSRP. So
right, yeah, no, 100%. He's not gouging anybody either.
Yeah, so he's not going to gouge you for your price. So,
no, 100%.
Which is what to me that's the best thing. No, asylums, no. Nothing that big should ever go into a man's mouth.
So before we get into that, one of the things that I want, speaking of dudes that put big things in their mouth, I wanted to ask you about how you became a Cowboys fan in New Jersey and New York. How does a New Rochelle kid become a Cowboys fan? I just want to know, was it the triplets? Like, what happened? Where did you fall?
Well, them. Mom's a Cowboy fan. Dad's a Cowboy fan. I was born a Cowboy fan. My brother's a Cowboy fan. So everybody's a Cowboy fan. I think,
my dad was a huge Dan Marino Miami Dolphin fan. So for like my early childhood, I was a huge Dolphins fan. Like Irvin Fryer, OJ McDuffie.
Yeah. Oh my God, Irvin Fryer.
Irvin Fryer, bro, until he went to Philly. That really pissed me off.
Peter, you can't talk. You're an Eagles fan. You got one championship.
Poverty.
All right,
team,
so if Peter or Matt wants to come up, here's a link for you guys. All right. So, first, here's the thing.
Oh damn! Did you put that in the main chat?
Yeah, that's no problem with it. I can always screen. I can always screen who comes up, so it's fine.
That's true. No, good call.
Yeah,
good call.
You know what, Peter? You're in bed because you're old. You're old, and you're tired, just like your Eagles, and your Bruins. So,
bro, Jalen Hurts shaved his mustache, or they had like a really good Photoshop going on Twitter today. That's a scary sight, bro. He looks like Carlton.
Yo, you know what the funny thing is? So I made a bet with Peter. I was like, yo, let's make a bet. If the Rangers and Bruins play, let's make a little bet. He didn't answer back. He was scared. I'm taking it as you're scared, Peter, because at the end of the day, if you got that much confidence in your Bruins, you make the bet. because he know that my Rangers would take care of business. So everything else, I'm New York through and through. Like I'm a
Sure.
New York Liberty fan.
Okay. Well, I mean, hey, look, bro, the Vegas Aces. Okay, we are the back-to-back champs.
Let me tell you
So
something. There was
I'm
nothing
not.
more. I can't lie. I was so heartbroken when the Liberty lost because I was like, I hate the Aces. Hate them.
Why? What's wrong with the Aces, bro?
They beat the Liberty this year.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, technically, that is our first professional sports championship as a city because they
Yeah.
got it before the Knights did. But
Well, I don't understand how the Knights came in and they came in and like just started wrecking house. Like all the other expansion teams aren't doing good except for the Knights.
well, there's something very specific with that, right? So, as a kid growing up in the '90s in Vegas, we had the Las Vegas Thunder. They were an amateur hockey team, and it was like the closest thing that we really had to professional sports after the Rebels started to fall off.
Yeah.
So, like, we had the Running Rebels. The Running Rebels of UNLV, Larry Johnson.
Yeah, of course.
Like
Listen,
that was the team. That was the squad.
listen.
Yeah.
LJ was a Nick,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
grandmama. But then
Grandmama.
your boys was betting on games.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, that's the reason why professional sports wasn't a thing in Vegas for a long time because we had the only legal sports betting. So they knew if you make a sports team here, like for sure the mob is going to make them all like throw the games and stuff. Like
Exactly.
no doubt. If they're doing that on the East Coast and in Cleveland and in Chicago and whatever, like then yeah, of course, Vegas if they ever get a professional sports team, it's done. So they held off on it for so long, but we had the Thunder out here, and we also have a strong influx of Californians who visit here, who live here, who vacation here, so on and so forth. So, like, growing up, like, I was a huge San Jose Sharks fan, New Jersey Devils fan for a little while, Rangers fan, Islanders fan. Like, I watched a lot of hockey growing up, as almost as much as like baseball, basketball. So I grew up an Orlando Magic fan because of the Florida kind of connection between like everybody in New Jersey and Dan Marino. I grew up a Miami Dolphins fan for a little bit, and then my uncle was a huge Giants fan, which is where I adopted the Giants. And
you poor soul.
yeah,
You poor soul.
100%. I was tormented for a while, and then obviously the Yankees, right? Because it's Giants, Yankees always.
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you, nobody on the Yankees last year hit over 300.
Yeah, that was pretty sad. That was really sad.
Gleyber Torres hit 280. He was the best hitter on the team at 280. And I don't know what's up with him, but he has a brain fart every game. That doesn't make sense. He does something stupid every game. I've never seen a player.
We as a team, and I say we because of the fact that we buy the merchandise, so we are part of the team because we pay those salaries. We as a team, as the Yankees, have made a lot of dumb errors on the field for a very long time. It was like the second that Derek Jeter retired, everybody lost their damn head.
Well, you know what the problem is that the Yankees, they don't like the way that they won championships back in their early days was hitting small. It was a lot of small ball because Paul O'Neill, he was maybe hitting 25 home runs a year.
Sure.
You had Tino hitting 30. Everybody else was just getting on base. Bernie was your cleanup hitter. He was hitting 25 and hitting 300.
Yeah, no, it was like the second that the long ball took over, the Yankees just eventually like hopped on that bandwagon, and it's bit them in the ass ever since. Also, they did a good job of like homegrown talent, which is very unique. Which was very unique back then. I mean, they definitely like pillaged the A's a lot for talent, and them in Boston went back on a lot of people like Johnny Damon and shit like that. But before that,
you know what? That year, what the thing is like? Can you imagine if like there was no way that Mo was getting out of that ninth inning in Arizona? There was no way he was getting out of that.
No,
like we knew because it would take a pop up and then a miracle double play, and he was rattled by that.
Yeah.
So
that was the last time that I think that I cried was that World Series.
That one was hard, but
it just felt like they were supposed to win that because of what happened on 9/11. Like that, and also the journey getting there.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
like the walk-offs, the them kind of coming back and being really an underdog, like they should have been there. They should have lost, the series before.
But even that 04 we lost to the Marlins, another one.
Yep.
So like
that was another one though that had homegrown talent, really good homegrown talent, and then we would face the same pitcher again playing for Boston years later, and that was just that was another one where like the 03 thing, them coming back from 0-3, that always stings a little bit. I can't complain though, because just like Philly fans had to wait as long as they did for that first Super Bowl, like those Red Sox, they were cursed. I would gladly be the first team to lose in baseball 0-3 and win 27 championships than like have to go 8 years.
I would say this. I still think it's fixed because they made so much money off of that. Because the reason why I think it's fixed is that they beat us. They beat us 4th Street, and then they went and swept St. Louis.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't lose a game to a really good St. Louis team.
Yeah. So like to me, it was fixed.
Sure.
For them to win.
All right, so then we're taking one championship away from Boston?
Yeah, you fucking right we are. Fuck them.
I'm good with that. Fuck them.
Yeah. Fuck them, fuck the Celtics, fuck the Patriots.
No, fuck the Celtics too. Oh, the Patriots. Well, I mean, like that was the greatest. That probably felt as good as like growing up a lifelong Yankees fan. Like I've never had a second team or felt any different. Like that was in my blood. Like we were always Yankees fans.
Yeah.
Growing up watching Don Mattingly play, left-handed, like I played baseball, played first base, like that was my dude. The captain was my guy. And then Derek Jeter like represented something modern, something new, but he was like, as a kid, I mean, I remember I liked Don Mattingly, I liked Ken Griffey Jr., I liked Pudge Rodriguez, and then I liked Derek Jeter. Like those were my guys. And it was very like specific. Like those I wanted them all to do well and I wanted their teams to do well, but when it came down to it, like Yankees over everything. So
okay.
Go for it.
No, I was gonna say like Griffey was my guy. Like I used to beg my dad to take me to Yankee Stadium for Griffey. I used to beg him. I used to beg, and so like that was one of the luxuries.
It was the swag, the left hand.
It was the swag.
The backwards hat, like dude, there was no. I mean, I really like Darryl Strawberry. Darryl Strawberry's left-handed swing was sweet, but like Ken Griffey, man, he was so smooth.
And the thing, and like every game that like it was like 2 or 3 games that I went to, and people would charge the field and ask for autographs, and he would autograph the ball.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this guy is running on the field with a Seattle jersey, getting beat up by NYPD, and Griffey is there just like autographing the ball, and knowing that one of those cops is going to take the ball.
100%.
Like
no, man, he was so good, man, and it was unreal. Like looking back at it,
we didn't appreciate what we had.
We didn't, and we also never imagined a world where Barry Bonds was going to break the records and not Ken Griffey, and also that Barry Bonds was going to become more popular at a certain time than Ken Griffey. Like that, he was supposed to be what Barry Bonds eventually became.
The funny thing just about baseball back then was, especially like when you talk about Bonds, like Bonds didn't need to take steroids.
No.
Like
he was as tiny as Griffey.
Yeah, what the funny thing is, like my guy back in the day was Jimmy Key.
Oh yeah,
like
left-handed Jimmy Key.
Jimmy Key, that was my guy. Like my dad he goes, why do you like this? Why you like Jimmy Key's a bum? And my dad would go, he's not a Yankee, he's an Oriole. Well, Wade Boggs is a damn Yankee.
Yeah,
You know, all like everything he did for Boston got erased once he won that ring as a Yankee.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
100%. Now, Jimmy Key, man, he was awesome. I love Phil Cone. Phil
yeah.
Cone was my guy.
You know, and Danny Tartable.
Danny Tartable,
Danny
yeah.
Tartable. You know, like juice to the gills. Danny
Indeed.
Tartable. You know, like him,
Indeed.
Ruben Sierra, Chili Davis.
Chili Davis.
Chili Davis, man.
Chili Davis, 1994 MLB baseball on Super Nintendo. Chili Davis and Frank Thomas, bro. You have a lot of fun with those guys in that game.
I would say this, man. Chili Davis is probably one of the best names, one of the best sports names ever.
Hell yeah. Let me let this dog in and use the restroom real quick.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, man. Like, you know, growing up in the 90s, you know, like that right there was peak. Well, to me, was peak for baseball. Like, I feel like, and I don't want to sound wrong for saying this, but I do feel like baseball is losing a little bit of its charisma because it doesn't have the homegrown American talent that it used to. And, you know, like, you know, a lot of these players now, they come over from foreign countries and they can't speak the language. So it's very hard to connect with them. So, you know, I feel like baseball lost its way just because of the fact that a lot of regular people can't connect to a lot of players from Japan or, you know, or you know, the Caribbean islands. Just because it's like we don't know them as far as they can't, you know, this is one of those things. And, you know, like the game of baseball, you know, as kids, like we seen ourselves in certain players. So it now, you know, it's very hard to kind of connect to certain stuff. That's just how I feel about it. You know, and
so I was listening to that. I kind of agree, and then I also kind of don't, because I didn't need to know what David Ortiz was saying to hate him.
Yeah.
Same thing with Manny Ramirez.
Yo, you know what?
Like David Ortiz's English has gotten a lot better over the years.
A lot better, yeah.
But that dude used to fucking piss me off to no end. Because it was like, you know, the Red Sox back then, they knew
hated everybody.
Kevin Youkilis, the way that how ugly that fucking bastard was, and he would just sit there, that ugly ass swing, and he was ugly to begin with, and like
he had the fucking trifecta, man.
Yeah,
he had the fucking trifecta. Him, Dustin Pedroia, fucking Nomar.
Looked like Nomar. Yeah,
hated fucking Nomar.
Just dicks, all of them, right? Yeah. But they knew that they got to play got to play that role where, like, to the people of Boston, they were the underdog, and to everybody in New York, they were assholes. And like they played it so. Kurt Schilling, bro, with the bloody sock and all that nonsense.
I would say this:
had more parody. We had more storylines.
He has one of the best podcasts, baseball podcasts out. His baseball podcast.
Oh, really?
You know what? We're not bitter. We're speaking truth here, Peter. All right. Nobody's bitter. But, you know, like
Boston Bruins, Philly Eagles. What a weird.
Yeah, you know, but it's like us in the Braves. Like when those series would come up, it was like I hated Maddox. I hated all of them. You know.
Dude. And when they had that murderer's row of a pitching lineup, oh my god! And they thought that they weren't gonna lose. That was fucking incredible.
You know what? Jim fucking Lyrics, man. Jim Lyrics.
Yeah.
You know what?
Golden Goose.
I used to love what Jim Lyrics used to go. He would go back and he would do the bat flip.
Yeah.
And he'd twirl his bat and go back up there and hit that fucking 3-1 bomb in Atlanta that took us over the top.
when you see Greg Maddux just sit there and sulk,
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
cry like a little baby.
So beautiful.
Amazing.
Especially
Him.
like back then, they used to like, I don't know, it was really weird. There was something that changed after the steroid era of baseball, where I feel like we've overcompensated to the point now. Hitting has really suffered. Pitching is very good, but pitchers don't have like the same. I don't know if it's like maybe it has to do with the language difference, right?
Yeah.
But like you would watch somebody like Roger Clemens, dog.
Yeah.
David Ortiz. And then David Ortiz go, hey, I'm going to come out here and beat you with this fucking bat. And he very well could have, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, cool, then just do it. And it's like part of that parody doesn't exist anymore. Like those storylines just aren't the same. Like I want to see Ohtani, go at whoever.
You know what the thing is
rush the field and do that.
You know what the problem is? These guys are all friends now.
Yeah, everybody. And also another thing too is like the degree of money that has been paid in contracts. Let them all juice. Yeah. Like, I think, if first off, I've always felt as though that you need to just let that go anyway, because the level of pharmaceutical stuff that they're capable of affording is better than any test that exists. Yeah. So you're not catching anybody. Like they're always going to find a way to beat it because they have the money and the resources to get stuff that's going to beat any test. Like it's just silly. And what's up?
No, I was going to say it's crazy because back in the day, like if you ask any Boston Red Sox from those 4 years, it was hate. Like it was on site. If they see the Yankee player in the street, it was on. Like that doesn't happen anymore. These guys don't hate each other. And then the fans getting brought. It was like that the Mets and the Braves when they had John Rocker and they were throwing fucking batteries at John Rocker at Shea.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I would go to the old Yankee Stadium and watch games with my dad whenever we would go to New York.
The best.
And like the old Yankee Stadium, bro.
Had a feeling.
The Twins would come to town, right? The Minnesota Twins. Yeah. And you would be sitting there on the third base line. They would be like, yo, Thorpe or whoever, fuck you, bro. And whoever the catcher was, like, nice. They're all Minnesota Twins. Like, these are the nicest people. Minnesota fans, nicest people. And New Yorkers are like, yeah, fuck you guys. And you're just like, dude, like, you don't feel bad for this team that can't win anything? Like, and they're just like, nice. They're like, no, fuck them.
Like, the old Yankee, it had an aura to it. When you walk in, the old Yankee Stadium had an aura to it. This new Yankee Stadium sucks. It literally sucks ass.
I'll tell you what, it's really nice going in and coming out because it's nice and big. The old Yankee Stadium, it was like walking through a sewer where you were going to meet Master Splinter and then go out to the seats.
Yeah. Like,
no lie. And those chairs were uncomfortable as hell in the old stadium.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Obviously people were a little bit thinner back then.
But also too, but the crowd was just live. Like if you look at the Philly fans, like that's intimidating to play in.
I don't look at Philly fans. Okay, they first off.
Yeah, you heard that, Peter?
I don't look at Philly fans, Eagles, Phillies, any Flyers, any of that shit.
You know what? How bad does it have to be? How much of a dick do you have to be be like a Philly and a Boston fan? That's like a double douchebag.
The only thing that would make it better is if you're a Patriots fan on top of it. That's all.
Well, the good thing, he doesn't watch football, so next year he's like oh no, sorry, no, he's an Eagles fan. He's an Eagles fan. Yeah. Actually, that's worse for me because. My Cowboys are always kicking the Eagles' fucking ass. So, well, here's the funny thing about that: the Cowboys.
So that's how we got started on this rant. Was the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah. So the Dallas Cowboys beat the Eagles. I mean, not the Eagles. They beat the Giants 10 straight games.
Yep. But the Giants have won a Super Bowl well within 2 of them, actually. Within the time that the Cowboys won their last one. So at least I've gotten to see it as an adult.
But you got 4. We got 5.
We also beat greatest team possibly that's ever played in the Super Bowl?
They had an easy schedule that year.
I mean, they went 18-1, and the one is because of the
They had an
Giants.
easy schedule. And also, too, like, honestly, like...
They broke, like, every record that the St. Louis Rams had previously had.
So here's the funny thing about that. So on the last drive, Moss was open on every... If Brady had enough balls to sit in the pocket, Moss
Didn't
was
have time.
open.
Didn't have time.
Yeah,
that pass rush, bro.
Yeah,
Strahan.
Moss was open on every fucking deep throw. I'm
Look,
sitting there just like...
Moss is open. Moss was open that season on every play.
Every play.
What did Randy always say? Always open, bro. Always
open. Just throw it up there.
Thing. Just throw it up there. And he's right. Like, he's Randy Moss. He's, without a doubt, in my opinion, better than Jerry Rice. Like, the only difference is that Jerry...
The only reason I can't get that to him is that Randy ran 2 routes. Moss can run every route in the route tree.
Well, so you're talking about Rice could run every route.
He can run every route.
Randy. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Moss can only run 2 routes. He can run a post and he can run a post and a deep route. Jerry can run every route.
That is not true. That is not true. That Randy ran more than 2 routes. Randy, when he was young in Minnesota with Chris Carter, being able to run every single route, Randy only had to learn 2. But as he got older, as things got a little bit slower, and you have to remember, he spent a year in Oakland with Rice. Okay, Randy was a tactician at the end.
Yeah.
Randy was a tactician. He didn't have maybe the same work ethic that Jerry had, but he had more talent out of the gate. He had more speed. And overall, he was just he could go up, and that's where the term mossing comes from, is Randy. And he could go up there and take that ball from anybody. And the thing is that, like, does Shaq need to have a 3-pointer as well as fadeaway? No. At the end of the day, the diesel is the diesel, bro. Like,
exactly.
You only have to have 2 moves. So my thing is that Randy was dominant with only having 2 for one time. And but his time was up 4 years before he retired. I don't know about that. I mean, it was 2 years after leaving the Patriots that he still played in Oakland and wherever else. Like, I feel like
he wasn't motivated.
Randy just wasn't motivated. Yeah.
Wasn't motivated.
His numbers could easily have exceeded Rice had he have been motivated to be that guy.
You know, he wasn't motivated. And the thing about Randy is this, like, he would just click off and just be out of it.
Yeah.
You know, he would just go, he would just click off. And, you know, it's like Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson could have been, like, if he wasn't so injured, Calvin Johnson was unstoppable.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Calvin Johnson was different, but he also, like Randy, benefited from his size and the fact that he could just go up and take it from somebody, like, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
He also had, like, Calvin benefited from having one standout QB that would get him the ball all the time.
Just throw it up there. And just throw it up there.
Just throw it up there. Whereas Randy, you know, he really didn't. He had Culpepper when Culpepper was willing to deliver the ball. And then he kind of had a host of shit until he got back with Brady.
Well, you know what?
With Jerry had Montana. He had Young. He even had, you know, a couple of guys in between that were okay.
Rich Gannon. Rich the Cannon Gannon.
Yep. So I don't know, man. It's very interesting how people's, like, careers ebb and flow like that. But going back to the Giants versus the Cowboys.
Yeah. The only game you guys won was when Dak broke his ankle.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Recently, our record against everybody has basically been shit. Cowboys and Eagles specifically shit. Like, the Eagles beat us, you know, not last year, but the year before when we went to the playoffs 3 straight times, like, in one season. That sucks. They just had a better team every single time. The Cowboys had a better team. And my best friend is a Cowboys fan, which is why I like ragging on Cowboys fans as much as I do, because I've grown up and with him the last 20 years, and him always saying, had Romo not have fumbled that snap, we would have played in the Super Bowl. Had Tony Romo have had one great break, he would have been the guy. And granted, like Tony Romo.
No, what I would say this: that year that we were in Seattle, and Romo lost that game, we would have beat everybody else that year.
Yeah, like including the 18-0 Patriots. Sure.
No, but that was the year that you guys beat us.
Yeah.
That you don't understand how frustrating that loss was. That right?
No, I mean I get it. I totally get it, because when Philly kicked us out of the playoffs, when Deshaun ran back that punt.
Oh.
Like the miracle in the Meadowlands. That shit hurt. And I've seen some frustrating losses as a Giants fan too. I mean, even in 2001 when they lost to the Ravens in the Super Bowl after smoking Minnesota.
No. But here's the thing. Like, that game was over before it started.
Yeah, it was 100%.
It was over. It was once Ray Lewis came out and did the dance. It was over.
I think that it was once Saragusa sat on Kerry Collins the first time. That was really when it was over. But when Ray Lewis did the dance, that was pretty much it. I mean, they had straight killers everywhere. Ed Reed is one of my favorite players of all time.
That defense was insane. Like, and Ron Dane's big soft ass was just getting tore up that game too.
Oh yeah.
Like, he was getting lit up like a Christmas tree. But you know what? Like I told myself that I refuse to invest in them sorry ass Cowboys this year. I refuse. I can't do it. It's domestic violence.
The friggin' the Dez catch against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, that was rough. That was a really tough one. I remember watching that with my best friend, and everybody knows that was probably a catch, but then to watch Aaron Rodgers go down the field and do what he did, man, that was some crazy shit. Like, that was probably the first time that I felt bad for Cowboys Nation. As a non-Cowboys fan, like, that shit was tough. I remember in like 94 or 95 in the Snow Bowl on Thanksgiving when the Dolphins and Dan Marino came back on the Cowboys. That was a special day. That was really cool.
but I would say this, man. Like, at the end of the day, we still went, and we still made it to the NFC Championship game. So I wasn't too mad about that one. But no, Peter, I'm telling you right now, I am not watching a full Cowboys game. I don't care. I don't care if they go undefeated during the regular season. I don't care.
It's all playoffs. It don't matter.
It's all about the playoffs. It is all about the playoffs.
Yeah. That was a catch.
Man. I would say this, man. Like the Raiders, it's hard not to root for them this year. It really is. Because Antonio Pierce is he's a Raider through and through. And I hate Antonio.
He's also a Giant. I
hate him. I hate him and his big ass fucking head. I'm turning my back. Listen, I don't know if y'all seen the live stream that I had to deal with Sanj. First of all, Sanj never comes back to the shop on a fucking Sunday. The shop is closed. Sanj drove 2 hours to come to the shop. He made it by halftime and was on live for 35 minutes torturing me about the Cowboys. Torturing me.
That was your own fault. So, I remember listening to a live that you did the week before, and you sounded just as confident as every Cowboys fan about the Packers this postseason. Where you were like,
I was drinking the Kool-Aid.
but it's a
I
cool
was drinking the
story.
Kool-Aid.
But the Packers really aren't gonna. So like, I'm a big Madden guy,
Yeah,
and Romeo Dobbs is like my guy in Madden for this year.
yeah,
And I was telling my best friend, I was like, bro, like Romeo Dobbs, the safety that they have with Savage, with Daryl
yeah.
Savage, and Jordan Love, bro. If Jordan Love has a good game, I don't know if like you guys down a couple of players on defense, like if it's gonna go your way. And he was like, no, man, like it's a good story, but good stories have to come to an end at some point. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what? Like,
That
honestly, that was probably that moment was the moment that broke me as a Cowboy fan.
I think it broke a
Because
lot of Cowboys fans.
because because Father Time, Pat, Pat is always like, I don't care. Pat is always like, Pat has a whole basement full of Cowboy stuff. Pat's the biggest Cowboy fan we know.
He's got a little man cave.
The plan this year is Pat hasn't been to the new stadium, so the plan this year is to take Pat to Dallas.
Okay.
To see the Cowboys because Pat he's 77 years old.
Okay.
So the plan is to take Pat to see the Cowboys and Pat's like, I'm done. He's like I stopped rooting a long time ago. He goes, they always just did this. He goes, they always just disappoint me, and that was the straw that brought the camel's back. It was a lot of losses that.
I'll tell you what, though, it only takes, like, here's the thing about it, right? You can be disenfranchised for a while. It only takes like a couple of things, though, for you to go right back into it. And that's the beauty of all sports, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember telling people like after 07 when the Giants won, and I got to watch an actual like Super Bowl for once as an adult for a team that I love. For my team. For my team since basically Marino retired in 97. So I became a Giants fan in 98 pretty much. I watched them lose a Super Bowl against one of the best teams that's ever played. Then I watched misery for a couple of years.
Yep.
Then they got Eli, and Eli was just this big joke to everybody.
Well, he still is a joke. Eli is not a Hall of Fame quarterback.
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. First ballot. Next year, you're going to see him give his speech, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be like, innocent, bro.
Way.
This is a day to rejoice.
Dude, he threw more interceptions than touchdowns.
That is not true. That is not true. And the second thing is that you can't tell the story.
Look up the stat.
You cannot tell the story of the greatest team and the greatest quarterback to ever play the sport without talking about the Giants and Eli. So he is a Hall of Famer for that one reason, bro. Yes, he is. You can't knock that. He beat the greatest QB of all. Innocent's gone. Fuck that. He is the greatest.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
He beat the greatest QB, arguably. Probably not even arguably until Patrick Mahomes retires. Then you'll have an argument. But to this point right now, the greatest quarterback and the greatest team of all time beat them twice in the Super Bowl. You can't tell the story of the NFL without Eli Manning. Like, he's a Hall of Famer. That's it. Period.
No.
And like, everybody talks about, like, this is the thing that bothers me about Cowboys fans and Eagles fans when they do this. Because they'll discredit his accomplishments because they don't like the Giants, right? And, like, the thing is that my favorite Giants game of all time outside of those two Super Bowls, and even probably more so than the second Super Bowl, the 2011 one, was the game right before it. That NFC Championship game in 2011 in San Francisco against the best San Francisco team that may have ever have existed, right? You had Smith, you had Gore, you had Bowman, you had Patrick Willis, you had in his prime Vernon Davis, right? First drive out of the gate, Vernon Davis takes that 55-yard fucking over the middle streak, hops up on the thing, on the Jumbotron, sitting there flexing on the team. And then what ensued for the next, like, 3 quarters was just like magic. You watched this throw on a rope to Mario Manningham in the touchdown on the sideline. You watch Hakeem Nicks. You watch these no-name wide receivers that nobody would ever go into battle with, and Eli Manning throw like 350 yards, no
First of all,
interceptions,
Hakeem
3
Nicks
touchdowns.
Hakeem Nicks was a first round draft pick. Top 10 pick.
I'm gonna fact check this.
Hakeem Nicks was for out of North Carolina. He was a top 10 pick, and Eli
But
Manning.
he was also drafted not to the Giants, though, right?
Yeah,
Or was he drafted to the Giants?
He's drafted to the Giants.
So he was round 1, but he was picked 29.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the end of the draft. There's 32 teams.
Hey, so a first round pick.
Okay, so he's a first round pick. Sure.
Yeah.
Victor Cruz, who was undrafted. I mean, the shit was magical, bro. Who was the running back? The running back tandem. Who was the running back tandem? Like, there's no Hall of Famers. Who was the defense?
Yeah, you had fucking Bradshaw.
You had Bradshaw. I mean, is he a Hall of Fame running back?
No.
Okay.
But,
I mean, like the defense outside of JPP in his prime before he blew off his fingers in that firework accident, and he still came back and played for the Bucks and was, a Super Bowl winner. Which I always hate the fact the Giants cut him, but I get it. It's business. It's one of those where like Tuck, JPP, OC, like that team, bro. They played out of their minds, and they beat a far better team in San Francisco, bro. That game was mad. Eli got knocked down like 20 times in that game. Had his chin strap up here by his head. Like
he looks like a kid with Down syndrome when he gets hit.
Oh, bro, he was. I mean, that's the shit that gave him CTE for the rest of his career. Like that game, that shit was amazing. Giants were great with Jason Garrett. Oh god, the second that they hired that trash from Dallas, bro, that was
the clapper, the fucking clapper. The fucking clapper. Can't stand the fucking clapper.
Did you put Pete's comment on touchdowns to interceptions?
That is not Hall of Fame numbers. That is nowhere near.
But when you look at
Hall of Fame numbers.
Look at the playoff stats though. What do the playoff stats look like?
Those are not fuck. Listen, Jeff Hostetler has a ring. Trent Dilfer has a ring.
Trent Dilfer didn't win 2 rings going on the road all 4 games though. Like that's the difference, man. The difference is the run. Trent Dilfer had the Ravens, had the 2001 Ravens defense. Eli had a good defense. He had I think the 27th rank and the 21st ranked defense. He had a decent defense. It wasn't top 10 in the league, much less number 1.
Who, Eli?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys got hot and were killing everybody.
I mean, got hot, but a lot of that has to do with the quarterback, right? Like the quarterback has to get hot too.
Please. Eli's a game manager.
Yeah, I agree with that. But when it came down to the most important games, he managed the game the best. Like, here's the difference. You put Eli on that 49ers team last season, like prime Eli, he beats Patrick Mahomes. That's the equivalent. You get that?
That is the craziest statement I've ever heard.
Am I wrong? I mean, he did it to Brady twice. Like, it's what happens.
Oh, my God. No way.
Yeah, bro. Way.
No way. Like, to say, like, Eli is the most overrated quarterback ever.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Touchdowns in the playoffs, 18.
Oh
Interceptions in the playoffs, 9. Right? Which seems high,
That's awful.
But when you take out the 4 that he threw in 2005 and 2006, bro, that's only 5 in those 2 Super Bowl runs on the road, 4 games.
How many did
Each season.
Mahomes throw so far?
How many did Mahomes throw in the postseason?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think like one.
I mean, Mahomes has played a lot more games in the postseason, I think, than Eli did, but we'll see. Career game logs, postseason. I mean, he threw one against the Niners. We know that. We saw that. Holy shit, this guy's played a lot of games. 18 games. It's crazy. He's thrown 41 touchdowns and 8 picks.
That's insane.
That's insane.
That's insane.
He's also already played at the age of 28 6 more games than Eli. He's played more postseason games, I think, than Peyton Manning was what they said already.
Yo, that is crazy.
That's 40 nuts. 41 to 8.
That's in the playoffs.
Bro, that's the greatest quarterback that's ever. He's gonna go down as if he's not already.
Yeah, he really is.
He's done. That's insane, bro. 41 touchdowns in 18 games.
That's crazy.
That's stupid,
wild.
Bro. That's stupid.
That does like if you go back to all the all-time greats, I bet they don't have numbers like that.
No. I mean, like even Brady's numbers, bro. Like
they aren't that good.
They're probably not that good, and he, I think, only played a couple of games more than him at this point,
which is crazy.
Which is also crazy, right?
Brady
played 48 games. Okay, so he played a considerable amount more. Apologies. 88 touchdowns to 40 interceptions.
Well,
Patrick Mahomes has half of it in playing 18 games versus 80 versus 48. So he played 18 versus 48. So like even more than half the games.
Wow.
Or less than half the games.
That is so nuts. Crazy.
Later, Pete.
Later, Pete. Oh man, but it's 1 a.m. my time, man. Listen, I can talk sports all day. Like you see that. Yeah, man. But
next time that we're on together, we'll have to dive in on sports.
Oh yeah. You know what? I was thinking about doing was like the week before the season starts, we do like a big podcast, everybody together that watch sports, and we do we all do like picks of like who's gonna win the division, MVP.
That's a good idea.
Hound
Dog and I, like on a lazy Sunday when football was still going on, we would go on during the game. Like if the Chiefs were playing or if the Giants were playing. And we wouldn't do like a play-by-play, but we would just kind of like mostly talk sports during it. So, I mean, that could be a good one too during the season, but I do love the idea of giving like some division picks and kind of how we feel about the upcoming season and whatnot.
Yeah.
That'd be dope.
We do a little bit of betting odds on, on MVP and all that good stuff.
Hell yeah. So, no, I did.
All right, man. Yeah. Michael, thank you so much, man. This was great.
Yeah, man. Likewise. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the conversation and a good time.
Of course, man. You guys have a good night. And tell a friend to tell a friend. Big Guilty Cigar Podcast. I'm trying to get to 300. I'm trying to get 300 subscribers. So help your boy out, man.
Glad you had time. Glad you had a good time, Blackbeard, over at Infuego, man.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Later, fellas.